What's up? Good morning, good morning, good morning. How's everybody doing today? How is everybody doing today? Well, guys, it's official. I am going to be sleeping in my car starting Monday. And that's alright. Done it before, and I'll do it again. That's how life goes, ain't it? But I did get a hold of a little bit of cash, so I might be able to afford a hotel room for a night, but I don't know if I'm going to waste my money on it. You know what I mean? But I did take some of that money, and I'm always making great decisions. I went ahead and invested. I bought a couple of Ethereum futures, a couple of longs. They have since lost about $20, but I do believe that that will turn itself around. As you can see right here, see, unrealized -$20. But that's okay. I bought, yeah, when it was like, oh, when was it? It was around here when I bought. Would have been nice if I caught it there, but no such luck. That's just my lot in life these days, apparently. If it continues to go down, I'll probably just take the loss and jump out of it and into something else. But yeah, I'm not too keen on taking losses. Like my liquidation's at like 22.50. It's not gonna go there, so you know I could ride that. I could ride it all the way into the ground, really, if I wanted to. All right, let's see what's going on in the news this morning. I literally just woke up not long ago, so I haven't had a chance to peruse very much. Didn't seem like there was much going on in the news so far, but we will find out. What is this crap? I'm going through my regular sources, and they're always changed by the time I get on. I don't know what it is, but it's always somewhere else, like the little live videos that I stayed on. Let's catch ABC World News from last night, shall we? Let's see.
Most watched newscast, now streaming same day with all the breaking news of the day on Disney Plus. Most watched, most trusted. Now on Disney Plus every night.
Tonight there is breaking news right now. Authorities warning of dangerous weather moving in. New tornado watches as we come on the air. Multiple states, severe storms, damaging winds, large hail. The Great Lakes all the way down to Texas. Already homes and businesses destroyed.
Awesome.
And the next line of storms right behind it, even more severe. And moving east. And tonight, New York City setting a record. Lee Goldberg has the storm forecast. Also breaking tonight, what President Trump is now saying about the length of this war with Iran as the U.S. Navy turns ships around near the Strait of Hormuz.
If you do not comply with this blockade, we will use force.
Thousands more American troops about to arrive in the region, and what the president is now saying about gas prices here in the U.S. Tonight, Vice President J.D. Vance now warning the Pope to be careful what he was talking about as President Trump lashes out against the leader of the Catholic Church.
Oh,
and
shut
tonight
up.
on the Hill, the leading Republican in the Senate saying the focus should be on the economy, gas prices, and not targeting the Pope. Tonight, the horrific scene in a Walmart parking
Targeting
lot. Police say a woman armed with a large knife attempting to kidnap a 3-year-old boy.
It's Walmart.
Tonight, a 14-year-old gunman opening fire in 2 middle school classrooms. At least
Jesus
9 people
Christ.
killed, students jumping out of windows to escape.
Jesus.
Late today, the major legal victory tonight for fans fed up with concert ticket prices. The case against Live Nation, the owner of Ticketmaster.
Good.
And what the jury has now decided and what it means for fans moving forward. Tonight, we have just learned a Homeland Security worker has been killed in a series of attacks. Just in tonight, an American Airlines pilot reporting a close call, slamming on the brakes, nearly hitting a truck. And this
Ouch.
comes just weeks after that deadly collision at LaGuardia Airport. The FAA tonight investigating a large chunk of ice plunging from the sky, crashing through the roof of a home, landing in a living room. A close call tonight for a Tesla driver, the car with autopilot engaged, appearing to crash through lowered railroad crossing gates as a train was approaching. And now the new warning from Tesla tonight.
Boom.
The famous Brady Bunch house, how you can now take a tour yourself. And the baseball fan who dropped her iPhone right onto the field during a game. When she got her phone back, what was on it? You have to see this.
Who cares? I do enjoy watching the news, but David Muir, God, he's one egomaniac. Remember when he was under fire for his posing or whatever it was? It was pretty stupid. He's back. Nobody cared. But yeah, he's another egomaniac.
Storms moving in across multiple states just as we come on. In fact, new tornado watches at this hour. This severe storm threat from Texas right up into the Great Lakes, damaging winds, large hail, possible flash flooding as well. Multiple tornadoes reported already, including what's called a rope tornado, touching down outside Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Tornadoes hitting homes and businesses in several states, damaging winds, bringing down trees and power lines already. Baseball-sized hail hitting Madison Lake, Minnesota. Cars with windshields shattered tonight. And right behind this system, yet another new line of storms that they believe will be even more severe.
Sweet.
So Lee Goldberg has the forecast, and Alex Perez in the storm zone leading us off tonight.
Tonight, powerful storms threatening millions from North Texas to the southern Great Lakes. Night 3 of a multi-day severe weather outbreak is underway. East of Cedar Rapids in Onslow, Iowa, Lenny Miller caught this massive textbook rope tornado tearing across the landscape as the storms fired up Tuesday night. The system dumping massive hail.
Appears to be a tornado. Touchdown.
This industrial park in the Milwaukee suburb of Sussex taking a direct hit from an EF2 tornado with 120-mile-an-hour winds, destroying Ashley Shelton's garage door business.
Ouch.
I just still don't know where to start almost with
Imagine
what
not.
to do next.
Ouch.
About an hour and a half northwest of Madison, a tornado tore through Union Center, Wisconsin, sending trees onto homes, cars, and power lines.
Terrible.
In Ann Arbor, Michigan, strong winds knocking down the wall at this ice rink. Northeast of Grand Rapids, Michigan,
We're trying to round up this mess.
first responders wrangling hundreds of cows that got loose after a confirmed tornado destroyed multiple barns at Janet Hull's family farm in Fenwick.
It was scary and unbelievable what damage can be done in a short amount of time.
It sure
And
is.
David, the owner here, tells me the powerful storm picked up debris from across the way and slammed it right into the building here, complicating the cleanup. They are preparing for possibly more severe weather in many of the same areas again tonight and on Friday. So no relief in sight just yet. David?
Terrible.
Yeah, that's the
Terrible.
incredible thing. Thinking about all of those families tonight. Alex, thank you. Let's get right to senior meteorologist Lee Goldberg. And Lee, as Alex mentioned, another line tonight, and then your team mentioning yet another line behind it, even more severe potentially.
David, the storm zone hasn't budged in 3 days, and we have more to end the week. We have a new tornado warning south of Rockford, Illinois. The tornado watch goes from Oklahoma all the way into Iowa. We've had tornado warnings west of Cleveland. We'll time the storms the worst during the first part of tonight, and then into tomorrow morning, heavy rains over the flood watch area and parts of the Great Lakes, already swollen rivers there. Some of those storms go east in the Hudson Valley of New York. After a relative lull tomorrow, another destructive outbreak, especially from Tulsa to Waterloo. We'll be tracking those for tornadoes and big winds. Out ahead of it, the summer preview continues in the east. D.C., Philly, New York, all 90 today, all broken records, but the spring weather will come back for the weekend. David, this is the first 80-degree or 90-degree day in New York City in 3 years in April. David?
Yeah, record set tonight. Lee, thank you. To the other news tonight, the war in Iran, what President Trump is now saying tonight about the length of this war. And tonight, the U.S. Navy turning ships around near the Strait of Hormuz. Thousands more American troops about to arrive in the region, and the president suggesting the war is just about over. Ian Pannell in the region again tonight.
Tonight, the tense standoff on the high seas. An American-guided missile destroyer stopping an Iranian-flagged cargo ship that tried to evade the U.S. blockade of Iranian ports. It's one of 10 Iran-linked ships the U.S. has forced to turn around. Central Command saying no ships have broken through the blockade. And tonight, we're hearing the dramatic new warnings the U.S. Navy is issuing to ships in the region.
If you do not comply with this blockade, we will use force. The whole of the United States Navy is ready to force compliance. Now,
the U.S. looking to put maximum pressure on Iran, with thousands more U.S. forces set to arrive in the region soon. Iran calling the blockade a violation of the ceasefire, warning it'll stop any exports and imports in the Persian Gulf, the Sea of Oman, and the Red Sea. It comes as President Trump hints at a second round of peace talks in the coming days. The president asked by Fox Business whether or not this war was over.
I think it's close to over, yeah. I mean, I view it as very close to over.
But he's made those predictions before, now 7 weeks into this war, and just days after suggesting high gas prices could last through the midterm elections in November. Tonight, the president's saying prices will be lower by the midterms.
Gasoline's coming down very soon, and very big.
So you think gas prices will be lower before the midterm elections?
I think they'll be much lower before midterm, much lower, yes.
Okay. Now, you've suggested...
I mean, that's on the assumption that we stop a country that cannot have a nuclear weapon.
David, so far the US blockade successful, with the Navy stopping ships trying to get through. But the International Monetary Fund now warning, even if the war ends soon, the economic impact is going to be felt long after it's over. David.
Ian Pannell on this war coverage for weeks now. Ian, thank you. Tonight, Vice President J.D. Vance now warning the Pope to, quote, be careful. What Vance was talking about as President Trump lashes out against Pope Leo. And tonight on the Hill, the leading Republican in the Senate now saying the focus should be on the economy, gas prices, and not going after the Pope. Here's Rachel Scott.
Going after the Pope, please.
Tonight, the backlash after Vice President J.D. Vance told Pope Leo, the spiritual leader of the world's 1.4 billion Catholics, he needs to be careful when talking about matters of theology.
I think that it's important, in the same way that it's important for the Vice President of the United States to be careful when I talk about matters of public policy, I think it's very, very important for the Pope to be careful when he talks about matters of theology.
Yes, be careful because, you know, theology, what does that mean? It's the study of religious theory. Be careful because, you know, none of it is written in stone.
The Pope has spoken out during the war on Iran, criticizing President Trump's rhetoric about destroying a civilization. Declaring on Palm Sunday, Jesus does not listen to the prayers of those who wage war, but rejects them. Vance, who converted to Catholicism in 2019, takes issue with that.
Was God on the side of the Americans who liberated Holocaust camps and liberated those innocent people from, you know, those who had survived the Holocaust?
And where was the Pope when all of the people in Africa were being executed, all the Christians that were being executed? Where was the Pope when we were talking about all the people that were executed by Iran? And he just recently said something about Islam. So he said something positive about Islam, and I don't remember what it was. But he was silent about all the people that they've murdered.
I certainly think the answer is yes.
The vice president doubling down on his criticism of the American Pope.
If you're going to opine on matters of theology, you've got to be careful. You've got to make sure it's anchored in the truth.
Tonight, the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops pushing back, saying when Pope Leo XIV speaks as supreme pastor of the Universal Church, he's not merely offering opinions on theology, he is preaching the gospel. The Pope himself had nothing to say about the vice president's comments. He was in Algeria, an overwhelmingly Muslim country, where he visited a mosque.
Although we have different beliefs, we have different ways of worshiping, we have different ways of living, we can live together in peace.
Yeah,
the Pope
we
calling
should be
that
able
message
to.
something the world needs to hear today.
Not that anybody gives
Back
a
here
shit.
in Washington, many
Islam
lawmakers,
doesn't.
including some Republicans, are not happy with what the president and the vice president have been saying about the Pope. In fact, the top Republican in the Senate with this message to the administration saying focus on the pocketbook issues and, quote, let the church be the church, David.
Rachel Scott at the White House tonight. Thank you, Rachel. We're going to turn to this horrific scene at a Walmart parking lot in Omaha, Nebraska. Police say a woman armed with a large knife attempting to kidnap a 3-year-old boy.
It's Walmart.
This is the moment police fatally shot a woman who they say kidnapped a 3-year-old boy and slashed him with a knife.
He looked very scared. He looked like he obviously didn't know suspect.
Authorities say Tuesday morning, 31-year-old Noemi Guzman stole that knife from a Nebraska Walmart and grabbed a shopping cart with 3-year-old Kyler Hillman.
Took possession of the child, essentially kidnapped.
She wanted to kill that little baby because he had a mullet.
The caretaker of the child to walk in front of the shopping cart.
Police say Guzman forced them out to the parking lot. Officers rushing to the scene, yelling for the woman to drop the knife, but she refused.
There is video that shows the suspect swiping the knife at the child, cutting him across the face.
2 officers opened fire. Guzman was
wrong
pronounced
with you?
dead at the scene.
Good.
Kyler was taken to the hospital. His family sharing these images showing cuts to his face and hand. His parents now reunited with their son, thanking officers for their swift action.
They wouldn't have reacted when they did. We wouldn't still have him.
Unbelievable.
And David, this suspect had been under court supervision after she previously stabbed her dad and tried to set him on fire.
Oh, imagine
she was found
that.
Not responsible by reason of insanity.
Oh my
David,
God! These insanity rulings need to go. They really need to go. At some point, we've just got to call. We got to call retards a retard. Okay, that bitch should be in prison. She should have never gotten out by reasons of insanity. Oh, then you can walk free. No, she's crazy. Get rid of her. I don't care why she's crazy, and neither should you. That kid doesn't care why she was crazy. Do you think those parents are sympathetic? Fuck, come on. Throw that bitch in jail and throw away the key.
Horrific case.
Stupid.
Trevor Ault tonight, thank you. Overseas tonight, the images coming in, a 14-year-old shooter opening fire in 2 middle school classrooms in Turkey. At least 9 people killed, students jumping out of windows. This is the second school shooting in Turkey in just 2 days. Here's James Longman.
Horror in Turkey tonight as a 14-year-old student opened fire in 2 middle school classrooms.
What the hell is wrong with people?
Killing at least 9 people and wounding more than a dozen more.
Damn!
It's the country's second school shooting in just 2 days. Police say they're investigating this video posted on X, which shows students running from the gunfire and jumping out of windows. Frantic parents racing to the school to find their children. Officials say the shooter, who took his own life, was armed with 5 guns and 7 magazines, weapons they believe belonged to his father, a former policeman. It comes just 24 hours.
Dude, what? A 14-year-old kills 9 people and then kills himself? Dude, what? What? I mean, I know it's in Turkey and they've got a completely different set of things going on in their lives, but what the hell is going on in the mind of a 14-year-old anywhere on the planet that would this hurts my heart. It really does. I mean, I'm a deeply compassionate person, especially to kids no kid should have the weight of the world on them. No kid, it's just like old people. Kids and the elderly, none of them deserve to have the weight of the world on them, and all of them deserve to just be able to enjoy life for different reasons. Kids is because they're in the beginning, and old people because they're at the end of their lives. And the fact that a child could possess the sort of anguish it would take to do something like this really, really hurts my heart.
I was after these chilling images that authorities say show an 18-year-old former student opening fire with a long gun at another school in Turkey. 16 people, mostly students, were wounded. That gunman also took his own life.
Jesus Christ.
David, school shootings are rare in Turkey, but tonight teachers' unions are calling on the government to do more to prevent what they say is rising violence. David.
Our chief international correspondent, James Longman. Thanks, James. Back in the U.S. tonight and late today, the major legal victory for fans across this country who are fed up with concert ticket prices.
Yeah.
A case against Live Nation, the owner of Ticketmaster, and what the jury has now decided and what it could mean for fans moving forward.
Ticketmaster's a scam.
It's been a long time coming, but
at first.
Yeah, Ticketmaster's been a scam for a long time.
And tonight, a jury in New York says it's because the company that owns Ticketmaster is an illegal monopoly. The jury decided Live Nation made almost every concert for every artist too expensive as it took over venues and took control of ticket sales, triggering long wait times and leaving millions empty-handed. Live Nation said its empire is evidence of business success.
Remember, Kid Rock got President Trump to do something about this. It doesn't appear that anything has been done. I do believe he did sign some executive order around that time. I can't remember exactly the state of it and what came of it.
But nearly 36 states called the company a monopolistic bully that overcharged consumers for every single seat.
You're damn right they do. Damn right they do. Ticketmaster's
the evidence during the 6-week trial that included these messages between Live Nation employees bragging about their ability to gouge customers and charge fees that are robbing them blind.
Bitches.
Punishment, David, could include hundreds of millions of dollars in fines, maybe forcing Live Nation.
Look, man, if it's not enough to bankrupt them, it's a slap on the wrist, and you know it. It's the same when like all these companies have to get a class action suit filed against them to which you get a $5 check out of, you know what I mean? It's just a slap on the wrist. None of these fines that anybody ever pays when it comes to white collar crimes, none of these fines are ever equal to the damage that they cause, because none of them ever bankrupt these pieces of garbage, you know? It's just another fee they have to pay.
Real hope is that concert tickets will get a little cheaper and easier to come by. David?
Don't we wish.
Aaron Tursky tonight. Aaron, thank you. Tonight, a suspect is now under arrest after a string of attacks in the Atlanta area, leaving 2 people dead, including a Homeland Security employee.
What?
Authorities say Lauren Bullis was killed while walking her dog, another victim also killed, and a third man in critical condition. The attacks unfolding over a matter of hours. Authorities say the suspect is a UK native, granted U.S. citizenship in 2022. Authorities believe the victims may have been targeted at random. We're going to turn to the economy tonight. The stock market hitting some record highs as Wall Street investors attempt to look beyond the war in Iran. The Dow losing 72 points today, but the NASDAQ and S&P 500 both closing at record highs.
Yes, sir.
When we come back tonight, the news late today, the wife whose husband says she was swept out to sea in the Bahamas after his promise to stay in the Bahamas to search for his wife. What we've now learned tonight. Also, look at this. The FAA investigating a large chunk of ice plunging from the sky, crashing through the roof of a home, landing in a living room. Also, a close call for a Tesla driver. That car with autopilot engaged.
Dude, ice block just came. I mean, it just made it like it's coming through a damn matchbook. Amazing. Amazing. That's terminal velocity for you.
What she realized was on it hours later. You have to see this. We'll be right back. We turn now to the case of the wife who disappeared in the Bahamas. Tonight, Brian Hooker, the husband who says she fell off their boat and was swept away. He's now left the Bahamas after being released by authorities. That husband vowed to stay until his wife Lynette was found. She disappeared from their boat April 4th. The husband's attorney reportedly saying the husband's mother back home is not well. An American Airlines pilot reporting a close call with a truck while taxiing near the gate at the Charlotte airport in North Carolina.
So that white black truck, they just went right in front of us. We nearly hit them. I had to slam on the brakes. We had our taxi light on. We started moving. They need to be. Someone's got to be doing about it right away. That was really bad.
It was just last month that 2 pilots were killed and dozens of people were injured when an Air Canada plane collided with a fire truck just after landing at New York's LaGuardia Airport. A dirty block of ice falling through the roof of a home in Los Angeles County. Take a look. The homeowner says it landed on the couch, put a hole right in the roof there. No one was hurt. The homeowner says a plane was over the home at the time of the incident. The FAA is investigating tonight.
That's wild.
When we come back, a close call for a Tesla driver. The car with autopilot engaged, appearing to crash.
I don't care about the Tesla.
To the index of other news, a terrifying close call for a Tesla driver.
Don't care about the
Tonight, singer Katy Perry is denying sexual assault allegations from actress Ruby Rose. The Batwoman star claims the incident happened at a nightclub in Melbourne, Australia. Police say they are investigating an alleged sexual assault from 2010. A representative for Perry tonight calling the allegations, quote, dangerous, reckless lies. Well, the Brady Bunch house is opening to the public. Fans can soon book a self-guided tour of one of the most iconic homes in television history.
Dude,
the actual home.
All of the fans of the Brady Bunch are either dead or unable to move enough to go into the house. That's cool, but this is not going to yield any money that they're hoping to get.
Home is in Studio City, California. It was used for the exterior shots in the show. Proceeds go to a Los Angeles dog
so it's not
charity.
even the inside.
When we come back here tonight, America Strong, the mom whose son caught the ball at the Giants game. It was
so everybody's going to go into that
game.
home and be like, this isn't what was on TV, and the guy giving the tour is going to have to say the same thing to everybody. This is the house that was the outside was used for, and then everybody's going to be disappointed. Oh.
Chewy. Tonight here, America Strong, one boy's first game, and he gets the ball. But in the excitement, mom lost something. It was the moment a mother at the Giants baseball game in San Francisco thought, oh no. She accidentally dropped her phone right onto the field. Danielle Lozano at the game with her family, proudly holding the baseball her son Emiliano had just caught at his very first Giants game. But in all the excitement, they managed to hold onto the ball, but mom then dropped her iPhone onto the field. She alerted security, who got in touch with the grounds crew. 45 minutes later, she had her phone back. But the real surprise didn't come until later that night when she was scrolling through her photos and saw this. A selfie from the Giants grounds crew who found her phone and gave it back to her with a picture of them. That image has now gone viral tonight. And this evening, the Giants...
I'm sorry, but if it's my phone that fell over, I'm not leaving that spot. She said it took 45 minutes to get her phone back. What did she do? She actually left? I wouldn't have left that spot. How do you not know? What? Or maybe she didn't know. Huh?
Saying, we like to have a little fun around here. And right here tonight.
Hi, David.
That mom, Danielle, grateful for her iPhone and really grateful for that selfie.
Whoop-dee-fucking-do. Well, that's just lovely. So glad she got her phone back. Not that I care. Right. So, while we were watching the news, I sold out of my ETH contract at a $20 loss. And I went ahead and bought a nano crude oil future, which I'm already up $5 on. I bought 2 of them, and they were about $100 each, give or take. But they come with something like 4 or 5x leverage. So, I mean, look, it moved 20 cents, and I'm up $4. So, you know, if we go up $1, hey, that's cash. That's why I love oil futures, because you can make a pretty good amount of money very easily as it barely moves. So das ist gut, ja. Let's go somewhere and find us some worthwhile news. I am about to go have me a smoke. It's a good day today. Fingers crossed it stays that way. Am I right? Am I right? Usually I am. Not when it comes to investing, though. But everything else. Right.
So I think what Democrats are doing right now is basically a fundraising tactic, because
Your mom's
I'm
a
on
fundraising
email list
tactic.
for several Democrat nonprofits and advocacy groups and political organizations, and I see the emails that come across my desk that talk about reining in President Trump on Iran and votes on the War Powers Act and you know, lately the impeachment, the 25th Amendment. So I think this is all at this point, since everybody knows Democrats don't have the vote to stop President Trump with Iran, that it comes down to money for the midterms.
Yeah, it's all about the midterms, and the Democrats are using this as definitely a political ploy. The Wall Street Journal, though, is now reporting the Pentagon has approached top executives at GM and Ford, asking them to increase their weapons production. We've heard from the administration, Robin, that the war with Iran is winding down. To John's point, we heard that significantly. We've seen evidence of that. But does this move maybe indicate something else?
I think we've got to plan strategically here, and we've got to plan for everything. There's an acronym that I used as an Army Ranger: PACE, primary plan, alternate plan, contingency plan, and emergency plan. And we're right now working on our contingency plan. And that would be that this ceasefire doesn't really take hold, and that we've got to continue this. So that's why we're doing increased weapons manufacturing. I've got friends who are continuing to get deployment orders. It's all part of the plan. You absolutely plan for the worst, but hope for the best.
Right.
Cheryl, do you think that this is just a mere replenishment of military assets that have been depleted based upon the operations over the last year, as well as a signal to any additional actors who want to stir up trouble that we are prepared to continue to bring peace and order around the world?
Well, I think it's a little of both. And I also just think it's President Donald Trump's general Make America Great Again and America First type of policy. You have to remember that Ukraine, we have spent billions and billions of dollars there in ammo and anti-tank artillery, all kinds of weaponry over there, and now add to this Iran. And look, President Trump met with 7 defense contractors in March, and as part of his budget recommendation, his budget request, he's requesting $500 billion increase in defense spending as it is. So I think it's part of this president's overall plan. A strong defense sends a message, but it also secures our military strength should we be called upon to use them.
Well, also this week, an extension on FISA is on the table. That's a controversial foreign intelligence surveillance program that sometimes sweeps up the communications of everyday Americans. President Trump with this quote: "I have spoken to many generals about this, and they consider it vital." House Speaker Mike Johnson backs the president and wants to extend FISA for 18 months, but not all Republicans agree. Robin, where do you stand on this?
Oh gosh, I hadn't even thought where I stand. This is a tough one for me, because I do think that there's potential for it to be abused. Right. But being that I worked, somewhat in intelligence overseas as an Army Ranger, it is necessary. I just don't want the program to be abused. We've seen that since the days of George W. Bush, right, with the Patriot Act. And I was leery back then with the Patriot Act. I think any potential for everyday Americans to have their communications surveilled by the government can lead to a potential abuse. So, yes, I hate saying this. Yeah. I support the extension of FISA, but let's be careful to not wrap up everyday Americans in that.
Okay.
Your side said a lot. And Cheryl, I think the American people are sighing as well. Why? Because they know. They love the country. They love everything we represent, but they know that the swamp is going to be the swamp. And I'm quite sure you reported on the abuse in D.C. So what's your opinion?
I have been reporting on Section 702 of the FISA Act for a very long time, even wrote one of my first books, a chapter on it. And, the book was called Police State USA, which is why I do not like the FISA courts in particular. There is not just potential for abuse. We have many, many, many examples of abuse, and I just don't think that this program is as necessary as we're told to secure this security, to secure the citizens of America.
Yeah, I mean, so Robin, I want to switch gears a little bit here, even though we could talk more about FISA. You were Obama's former campaign director. We have now seen in the past weeks or so, David Axelrod met with Pope Leo. Curious to get your perspective on this meeting at a time when the Catholic Church is saying it is not taking a political stance. What you know about David Axelrod is, frankly, the Obama campaign architect to some degree. What's your reaction?
Yeah, I don't like that we're beefing with the pontiff. I think it's distasteful at best. But he was an American citizen. And I want to remind people, we did get a hold of his voting record. He was a registered Republican, but he's not really acting like one now. So I'm not really sure where things stand. I just agree very strongly that religious leaders should abstain from political motives like this.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, and David Axelrod certainly is not really technically in the political sphere. He's not really a leader at this particular moment, so definitely something to pay attention to given their meeting and the timing of the rhetoric we're hearing from Pope Leo. Robin and Cheryl, though, thank you both for joining us this morning. Really appreciate your insights, as always.
Been a pleasure. Thank you.
We're awaiting a Pentagon news conference this morning on the war with Iran. We'll bring it to you live as soon as it happens.
Coming up, making sense of the Federal Reserve, President Trump still at odds with Chairman Jerome Powell.
Judge Andrew Napolitano joins us with his legal take straight ahead. Stay with First Edition only on Newsmax 2.
It used to be common. Our newscasters had common sense. They gave it to you straight, just the facts, and real news. John Bachman is like them. He tells it like it is. Catch him every weekday on Newsmax 2.
No matter what you drive, there's only one guarantee. It's gonna break down.
I had a sensor light up on my dashboard.
There was a popping noise.
The last thing I remember is just the engine cut out.
Your next breakdown could be anytime, anywhere, whether you've got the money to fix it or not.
It was a thermostat, $2,600.
Seat sensor, $1,400.
But if you've got endurance, you could never pay out of pocket for a car repair again, no matter how much it cost them to cover it.
In my first year with Endurance, they covered a $14,000 engine replacement.
It was like almost a $6,000 job. If I didn't have Endurance, I would have had to pay for that or just trash the whole car and start again.
If your car's out of warranty, a transmission can easily cost you $4,000.
And an engine? Over $7,000, if you're lucky.
With Endurance, those parts are covered.
A bad camera unit, $800 to repair. A bad wheel bearing, over $1,000. A new steering rack, close to $3,000. Endurance covered it fully.
Plus, you pick the mechanic you trust to do the work.
It's a totally seamless process going to any certified mechanic. They submit the claim directly to Endurance. They get paid, and I'm out the door.
You trust us to do the work, and we trust Endurance to pay us direct.
And the best part, your rate stays locked in no matter how many claims you file.
If your car's under 20 years old, Endurance has you covered with unlimited miles. Plus, your plan includes 24/7 roadside assistance anywhere in the country.
So, who's gonna pay for your next breakdown? You?
Or Endurance.
Right now, you can get $300 off any plan, plus a year of elite benefits, a $2,000 value free, all backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee. But you have to act now. Visit EnduranceWarranty.com or call 1-833-608-5583 for a free quote. That's 1-833-608-5583.
Welcome back. President Trump pressuring Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, saying he will fire Powell if he does not step down from the central bank when his term ends next month.
This comes as the Justice Department investigates the Fed's $2.5 billion renovation plans, with prosecutors appearing at their headquarters this week. On that note, let's bring in our senior judicial analyst, Judge Andrew Napolitano. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning, guys.
So I have to ask you this. Powell has the option of staying on as one of the 7 Fed governors through 2028 after his term as chairman ends. If he does this, will President Trump push even harder to have him removed? And where does this leave new nominee Kevin Warsh?
I would think that if the president tries to fire Chairman Powell, the Senate will react by delaying the confirmation of Chairman nominee Warsh. You know, the Supreme Court heard oral argument as to whether or not President Trump could fire Lisa Cook, a regular member of the board, obviously not the chair. And while they didn't rule, it is kind of apparent from the oral argument and from some statements in a prior opinion about presidential power that the Federal Reserve is beyond the president's reach. So stated differently, this threat to fire Chairman Powell is really an empty threat. The president does not have the authority to do it. If he does do so, he's just going to sort of mess up the membership of the board because the Senate will react to it. Now, the criminal investigation of the cost overruns in the renovation of the building, when a federal district court judge had before him a challenge to a subpoena that a grand jury issued for records of this cost overrun, the federal judge said to the DOJ lawyers, "What evidence of crimes do you have?" And they said, "None." He said, "Well, then I'm going to quash the subpoena." Because under the law, the government can't just investigate anyone or anything it wants. It has to have a kernel of wrongness. It has to have what we call articulable suspicion, a basis to believe that a crime has been committed, and they couldn't articulate one.
Very interesting. A case to watch for sure, as well as the potential nomination with Kevin Warsh, a major step there. Judge, I want to turn to this in what could be a big victory for concert goers. A federal jury finding that Live Nation, the company that owns Ticketmaster, has operated as a monopoly in violation of antitrust laws. So, Judge, what are the immediate impacts of this ruling, and will we see cheaper ticket prices anytime soon?
Well, this litigation started in the Biden administration by the Biden DOJ. The Biden DOJ sued Live Nation along with 34 states. 1 week into the trial here in Manhattan, now just 2 months ago, the Trump DOJ settled with Live Nation for $300 million with no requirement as to where that $300 million will go. Does it go to the DOJ's budget? Does it go to the U.S. Treasury? Will it be distributed to people who purchased tickets that were more expensive than they should be? So now the trial continues against the 34 states. And yesterday, a jury rules that Live Nation did violate basic antitrust laws by doing things like, okay, Madonna, I'm just using her as an example. She wasn't involved in the case. I'm picking somebody everybody knows.
Right.
You want to run a concert in one of our venues. You have to use our hair and makeup. You have to sell the food that we provide. You have to use our PR people, and nobody can sell tickets to this but us. That is what the violation is. So when the jury found that this violation occurred, the judge asked the jury, what did it amount to per ticket? You ready for this number?
Yeah.
$1.72. What? Yeah. So if you bought a Live Nation ticket in the past 10 years, you might get $1.72 back per ticket. But the lawyers in the case will walk away with millions.
Millions, yeah, as it always is.
And you probably have to pay taxes on top of that. Thanks so much, Judge Napolitano.
You can't make this stuff up. All the best, guys. Have a good
Thanks, Judge. Have a great day.
You got it. Well, it's been hot and steamy weather-wise in the Northeast in the past week.
I don't care about the weather. How about you? What's up, everybody? Oh, let's see what's going on in money news, if anything. Doesn't look like much is going on anywhere. I suppose that's a good thing.
Financial markets.
If it matters to your life, we're covering.
Commercial. Where's everybody watching from? Comment your location. I'd love to know where my peeps is from.
Pete Hegseth and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Dan Kane, just about 12 minutes from now. It's important because this will be the first time we've heard from them since the blockade began on Monday. CENTCOM is blocking ships that are going to or from Iranian ports. Other ships can still get through the strait. So far, 10 vessels, including 9 oil tankers, have been turned around. So they're going to get a whole lot of questions about that ceasefire. When will it be over? Also about how are you getting these ships through? Who are you stopping?
I've got something for you.
Holding. Iran has a lot of bluster, a lot of big talk, but so far pretty quiet since the blockade began.
Fox's Caroline Shively. Always good to speak with you here at Live Now from Fox. Caroline, take care.
You bet.
Continuing on, and a reminder, just about 12 minutes, as we have been stressing here, 11 minutes now, if you want to get specific, that update from the Pentagon, similar to what we have seen through previous...
All right, update from the Pentagon coming. All right, check this out. This is something you probably won't see in mainstream media, because the mainstream media just loves to frame things the way they love to frame them. Love to frame Israel as an aggressor of some kind, but here, check this out.
Today, Iranians across the world are united in one message, one voice, one demand. Our choice is Reza Shah Pahlavi. Not negotiation, not reform, not compromising with the oppression. This regime has to go. Today, Iranians across...
We are speaking about, she is speaking about the IRGC. Real Iranians, now most of which don't live in Iran anymore because they have fled. These are the people who despise Islam, and rightfully so. These are the people that you don't hear about, you don't hear from in the news. The news just loves to show you people in the streets of Iran supporting the IRGC. There are far more Iranians who despise it than support it, and for good reason. I mean, these fools. I mean, it's unbelievable to me that anybody can support these maniacs. You know me, I have constantly, you know, talked shit about the IRGC. So I'll do my best to spare you. What is that? Oh, yeah, finally admitting the truth about the border, are we? We're just waiting on, I think old Pete Hegseth is about to speak in a few minutes. So until then, we're just dicking around. I've got a little bit of a play going on oil. I got two oil futures, two nano oil futures, and I'm down a whole $6 on, trying to recover some that I lost on my Ethereum future that I bought. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully, for the sake of my wallet, oil will go up, because like I literally put almost all my money in it. Like a fool, right? Like a fool. UK awards Boeing, Apache, and Chinook support contract worth $1 billion to Iran? You never know what to believe when Iran starts speaking. They're always so full of it. Yes, I will believe my own country over Iran, no matter who. I'd believe Nancy Pelosi over Iran. Well, yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. I'm not moving. Not right away, at least. I'm going there for a visit to get my teeth fixed, and then we'll see. But I mean, dude, everything is so much cheaper in Thailand. Like, literally everything. Think about your average 7-Eleven here in America, okay? And then think about how much you can get for $5 in any convenience store, for that matter. You want to find one that's cheaper than 7-Eleven? Be my guest. What can you get for $5 in any convenience store anywhere in America? Can you even leave out of there with more than two things? You know, food-wise. You might be able to get a soda for $2, or and then maybe a little bag of chips or something, or maybe a hot dog, right? Yeah. You go to Thailand with that same $5, and you can't carry it all. Do you know how much a 20-ounce, I say 20, a bottled water costs you in most places in Thailand? How much does it cost you here? $1, $1.50-ish. Yeah, try 25 to 30 cents in Thailand. And most of the what do you call it? Most of the stuff that you can get in those places, in 7-Eleven, most of them you can get hot food that's not garbage, like you know, all the food here. Now, I wouldn't go as far as to characterize it as, you know, the best food in the world, but I mean, you can get, like a cup of noodles, or you can get little ham and cheese toasties, which are famous in Thailand. Little toasties, they're little sandwiches that come in bags, like $1. They'll even heat it up for you. But yeah, there was a video I saw out there of this guy who went into a 7-Eleven in Thailand, and he got, for $5, he couldn't carry all of it for one. And what he got was, he got two 20-ounce sodas, a bag of chips, a toasty, some candy, and a couple of other things. Like, he got almost 10 items. It was insane. Now, does that mean that Thailand is better all around? No. But that does shed light on the fact that America is the consumer nation of the world. People come here from other countries to make a living by exploiting the people here. Because everything is more expensive in America. Everything. And it's true. From prescription drugs down to bottled water. So, I'm currently waiting on a disability claim. I'm in the last phases of it, waiting on my hearing. As soon as that happens, I'm gone. I went in 2008, and I almost didn't come back. The only reason I did come back was because I had a 2-year-old son. But now, that son of mine is 20 years old. He's actually going to, he was going to come with me for a visit, to come for a month and then go back. And I'm probably going to bounce around between Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam. I was supposed to already be there, but I lost my ass in the market. I lost like $70,000 in the market. That really hurt. Which is why I'm in the situation I'm in now. Basically homeless. I'm staying at a friend of mine's house. And near the end of January, I came and was like, look, I only need 2 or 3 weeks because I was waiting on my tax refund. Well, it's been like 3 months. And needless to say, obviously, I've worn out my welcome. So I'm going to be opting to sleep in my car instead of straining my relationships, my friendships, because, it's not fair to her. I say opting because I'm using that term loosely, because it's not really much of a choice. When you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, what good are you, right? And my word is very important to me. So if I say I'm going to do something, I mean it. And as much as I appreciate her good nature of allowing me to stay here for as long as she has, it's just not fair to her. I'm cramping her style, you know what I mean? So, yeah, that's my situation. I've got until Monday. And that was self-imposed. I told her, give me till the end of the weekend, and I'll be out of your hair. I probably shouldn't have done that. I probably should have... I don't know. It is what it is. Let's go over to Fox, see what they're saying. Senators debate the Iran war. Oh, great.
And yet, a month and a half later, they still have all of their enriched uranium. We have not destroyed Iran's knowledge of how to produce a nuclear weapon out of existence, because neither are possible through a bombing campaign alone.
You can't
sometimes
destroy
regime
knowledge.
change is an objective, sometimes it isn't. The president said, well, we were gone last week, that in fact we've already achieved regime change. Well, technically, there is a new Ayatollah, but there is absolutely no evidence that this new Ayatollah, that this new crowd of elite leadership, mainly coming out of the hardline IRGC, is any less provocative, any less dangerous, any less adversarial to U.S. interests. In fact, the opposite is probably true.
Yeah, they're not. They're not any different. That's one thing I definitely don't agree with that Trump has said. We've achieved regime change? No, we haven't. We really haven't. I think that's just an easy way for him to start backing out of a war that I think he may have bitten off more than he can chew. I would definitely do things differently, but that's why I'm not in power. Because I would probably do something drastic.
Before this war began, it is now closed. It is unclear whether President Trump knew that they would close the strait and just threw up his hands, didn't care about the impact on the U.S. economy, or whether he didn't know, which would be egregious in and of itself, and was shocked to find out that Iran would close the strait. We are now a month and a half into this war. The strait is still closed. The president is trying to reopen the strait by blockading it, which is a very strange strategy, one that in day 2 of this.
Oh, yeah, you didn't have anything to say when they were blocking it, though, did you?
On the world. And I just want to touch on this very shortly. A new war is erupting in the Middle East. Hezbollah was empowered by the attacks, and there is a prospect of a massive new ground invasion of Lebanon from Israel. Already, hundreds have died in that conflict. Last weekend, you likely saw images of just vicious bombings of what looked to be civilian infrastructure happening inside Lebanon. But a new war in the Middle East.
Vicious, huh? Yeah. Nobody wants to point out the fact that that Hezbollah, in particular, stashes weapons in hospitals and schools and civilian locations to which they then fire upon Israel from, and then they turn around and point at it when Israel strikes back, defending itself like, oh, look, Israel, genocide, blah, 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 blah. Shut up. Just shut up.
Increase in fuel costs for a short period of time is something that wouldn't tank the entirety of the American economy, even though it does great damage to individual families. But in nations where a short-term fuel shortage or a 30% immediate spike is something that a government or a very poor...
All
right, so we do see this press conference here about to get underway here on
Let's
Operation Epic Fury. We did just dip out of that coverage there of senators
Let's do it,
as
baby.
they were debating the Iran war on Capitol Hill. We do now see here, though,
come on,
people were starting
let's
to
have it.
Placing something on one of the podiums there. That's our signal that this is set to get underway here in just a very short amount of time. So
shut your fucking mouth!
Just stay on this image so that we can see when Secretary Hegseth as well as General Dan Raising-Kane walk through those doors and provide us that update on Operation Epic Fury. Now, as we await here, I do want to just share with you the latest of what we know this morning. Pakistan's army chief met yesterday in Tehran with Iran's foreign minister in this latest diplomatic move to ease tensions in the Middle East and arrange a second round of negotiations between the United States and Iran after almost 7 weeks of war. This comes as this morning Hezbollah claimed over a dozen attacks on northern Israel and Israeli ground troops in southern Lebanon. The militant group said it fired rockets on Israeli troops and vehicles as it continues day-long fierce fighting. It also announced
I love Hezbollah announced that they would not negotiate. They condemned the talks between Israel and Lebanon, and they were saying the only options were surrender or keep fighting or something. And yeah, these people, there's actually media outlets giving these assholes a pedestal, giving them, no. Hezbollah has zero sovereignty. That means they get zero voice. So anybody giving them a voice at all. Hezbollah. You.
We do have that post here for you right now. Apologies for that audio interruption, but we do see Secretary Hegseth. Let's listen in.
Good. What up? What up, Hegseth?
Good morning, and as you may have noticed, the chairman and I are joined today by the CENTCOM commander, Admiral Bradley Cooper. He just returned from the front lines to see the troops and meet with allies, and this morning briefed us, just before this briefing, on the latest on all aspects of Operation Epic Fury. So after the chairman concludes, we'll ask Admiral Cooper to share a quick update on the ground truth from his trip to the region as he continues to implement an ironclad blockade and ensures that our forces are maximally postured to restart combat operations should this new Iranian regime choose poorly. and not.
Meet Steve.
Oh, God damn it, dude.
Steve
Really?
reads the room.
They wait until
and
he
then goes
actually
again.
shows up to drop a commercial in.
FanDuel predicts Steve can take the side he's passionate.
Stupid shit.
In regime, choose wisely. Which is where we'll start with a message to Iran's military leadership. To the KH leadership and IRGC leadership, we're watching you. Our capabilities are not the same, our military and yours. Remember, this is not a fair fight. And we know what military assets you are moving and where you are moving them to. While you are digging out, which is exactly what you're doing, digging out of bombed out and devastated facilities, we are only getting stronger. You are digging out your remaining launchers and missiles with no ability to replace them. You have no defense industry, no ability to replenish your offensive or defensive capabilities. You only have what you have. You know that, and we know that. You can move things around, but you can't actually rebuild. You can dig out for now, but you can't reconstitute. But we can. We are reloading with more power than ever before, and better intelligence, even more importantly, better intelligence than ever before, as you expose yourself with your movement to our watchful eye. We are locked and loaded on your critical dual-use infrastructure, on your remaining power generation, and on your energy industry. We'd rather not have to do it, but we're ready to go at the command of our president and at the push of a button. This blockade, which the chairman will detail this morning, is the polite way that this can go. Your energy is not moving and will not move, and we can do this all day. But it's not destroyed yet. Your energy industry is not destroyed yet. You like to say publicly, Iran, that you control the Strait of Hormuz, but you don't have a navy or real domain awareness. You can't control anything. To be clear, threatening to shoot missiles and drones at ships, commercial ships that are lawfully transiting international waters, that is not control. That's piracy.
Yes, sir.
That's terrorism. The United States Navy controls the traffic going in and out of the strait because we have real assets and real capabilities. And we're doing this blockade, performing it with less than 10% of America's naval power. The math is clear. We're using 10% of the world's most powerful navy, and you have 0% of your navy. That's real control. And we have a long track record of dealing with pirates and terrorists. But there is an alternative. As our negotiators have said, you, Iran, can choose a prosperous future, a golden bridge. And we hope that you do for the people of Iran. In the meantime, and for as long as it takes, we will maintain this blockade, successful blockade. But if Iran chooses poorly, then they will have a blockade and bombs dropping.
Just bomb
on
them
infrastructure,
already.
Power, and
Can we
energy.
just bomb them already?
And at the same time,
Christ, man.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and our friends over at Treasury are launching Operation Economic Fury as well, maximizing economic pressure across the entirety of the government. To Iran, choose wisely. The world watched, and so did you, as the U.S. military moved seamlessly from major combat operations to a world-class blockade. We can make that transition again, very quickly, and even more powerfully than ever. At the direction of President Trump, the War Department will ensure that Iran never has a nuclear weapon. Never. We'd prefer to do it the nice way, through a deal led by our great Vice President and negotiating team, or we can do it the hard way. We urge this new regime to choose wisely. Speaking of choosing wisely, a note to the press corps, to the American media. As I just can't help but notice the endless stream of garbage, the relentlessly negative coverage, you cannot resist peddling, despite the historic and important success of this effort and the success of our troops. Sometimes it's hard to figure out what side some of you are actually on. It's incredibly unpatriotic. This same press corps, not this exact same press corps, but at least an older press corps, bent over backwards during the Biden administration to explain away, the disastrous and disgraceful Afghanistan withdrawal. You called it the greatest airlift in American history. It's almost like you're cheering only for one side. This past Sunday, I was sitting in church with my family, and our minister preached from the book of Mark, the 3rd chapter. And in the passage, Jesus entered a synagogue and healed a man with a withered hand. The Pharisees came to watch. And as the scripture reads, they came to see whether Jesus, would heal him, or he would heal him on the Sabbath, so that they might accuse him. You see, the Pharisees, the so-called and self-appointed elites of their time, they were there to witness, to write everything down, to report. But their hearts were hardened. Even though they witnessed a literal miracle, it didn't matter. They were only there to explain away the goodness in pursuit of their agenda. As the passage ends, the Pharisees went out and immediately held counsel against him, how to destroy him. I sat there in church and I thought, our press are just like these Pharisees. Not all of you, but the legacy Trump-hating press. Your politically motivated animus for President Trump nearly completely blinds you from the brilliance of our American warriors. The Pharisees scrutinized every good act in order to find a violation, only looking for the negative. The hardened hearts of our press are calibrated only to impugn. I would ask you to open your eyes to the goodness, the historic success of our troops, the courage of this president, and this historic moment for a deal that could end the Iranian nuclear threat, the incredible battlefield victory laid before your eyes, the not one, but 2 incredible rescue missions, miracles, you might say, or a locked-in blockade. Or how about historic recruiting numbers? Yesterday, we announced that the Air Force and the Space Force met new higher goals in FY26, 5 months in advance of the end of the fiscal year, 5 months ahead of time. The Marine Corps and the Army will soon do the same. 2-3 years ago, we couldn't meet lower recruiting numbers, not even close. Where are the reports on that? Where's the coverage of the new spirit in the country, the new spirit in the ranks, the surge of Americans wanting to join the greatest military in the world? Nothing from the fake news. We sense a pattern. You see, on the battlefield, these are demonstrations of uniquely American capabilities, strength and resolve. It's all around you each and every day. But in the press, you only seek the negative, earning each and every day the fake news label. But the American people, with goodness in their hearts, see past the Pharisees in our press. They see the goodness. You watching, you see the goodness. They see the success. They see the reality. And they don't demand perfection, and perfection is not possible on any battlefield. But they see the incredible feats that our troops accomplish every single day. So to those troops, stay focused, block out the noise, stay aggressive. You are showing the world what it means to be an American warrior. You are making this building and the American people proud. We pray for you every day, and we have your back in every way. And to Iran, choose wisely. I pray you choose a deal which is within your grasp for the betterment of your people and for the betterment of the world. In the meantime, the War Department is locked and loaded. Mr. Chairman, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here today. Last week, the President of the United States directed a ceasefire that temporarily paused major combat operations in Iran. The unprecedented effort by America's joint force during Operation Epic Fury set the conditions for this ceasefire. And as the Secretary said, I'd like to emphasize during this pause that the United States Joint Force remains postured and ready to resume major combat operations at literally a moment's notice. This morning, I'd like to give you an update on the ongoing blockade in the CENTCOM AOR area of responsibility. On Monday, 13 April at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, at the direction of the President, America's Joint Force began implementing a blockade against Iran under the leadership of Admiral Cooper and the team at CENTCOM. Let me be clear, this blockade applies to all ships, regardless of nationality, heading into or from Iranian ports. The U.S. action is a blockade of Iran's ports and coastline, not a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Enforcement will occur inside Iran's territorial seas and in international waters. In addition to this blockade, the Joint Force, through operations and activities in other areas of responsibility, like the Pacific area of responsibility under the command of Admiral Paparo, will actively pursue any Iranian-flagged vessel or any vessel attempting to provide material support to Iran. This includes dark fleet vessels carrying Iranian oil. As most of you know, dark fleet vessels are those illicit or illegal ships evading international regulations, sanctions, or insurance requirements. More than 10,000 sailors, Marines, and airmen, over a dozen ships and dozens of aircraft are executing this mission. And let me walk you through this operation a little bit. Please go to the first slide. First to the graphic. This is taken before the blockade began. North is up. You can see the blockade line here in the center of the graphic, denoted by the red dashed line. This map is a pull from our common operating picture that we use to allow commanders and key leaders to see what is happening in near real time. We just grabbed screen grabs to highlight the actions and activities. What is not shown is how incredibly congested this area is and the incredible work that our sailors are doing to ensure that they can work in and around an incredibly busy water space. What is also not depicted here is the massive force of fighters, intelligence aircraft, helicopters, and other embarked forces, to include aerial refueling tankers that are up overhead this blockade area. You'll note that U.S. forces are in blue, Iranian ships are in red, and as we started this blockade, there were 7 ships of interest that were of concern for U.S. Central Command. Through a variety of intelligence tools and with the assistance of the Office of Naval Intelligence and other intelligence agencies, the force began to hunt for potential interdictors at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Interdictors.
Next slide, please. It's now 12:40 Eastern Daylight Time, 2 hours and 40 minutes into the blockade, as attempted blockade runners attempt to hop the line. U.S. forces began to commit. Out in front of them was a range of intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, and tactical assets. And immediately these runners began to see, sense, and feel America's combat power compressing upon them. The lead ship, normally a destroyer as depicted here, along with air power off of the USS Abraham Lincoln Strike Group, began to move towards those ships. At each point, the United States Navy will transmit a warning. A young sailor, normally on the bridge of one of those destroyers, a junior officer, picks up that mic and transmits, and I quote, "Do not attempt to breach the blockade. Vessels will be boarded for interdiction and seizure transiting to or from Iranian ports.
Good.
Turn around or prepare to be boarded. If you do not comply with this blockade, we will use force." And as this message is being transmitted, as I mentioned earlier, those shipmasters can literally see, sense, and feel the pressure around them. It's a finely tuned machine, rehearsed multiple times, and executed now 13 times since the blockade has begun. Next slide, please. We're now 24 hours plus into the blockade. You can see the turning around of multiple ships, 12 of which stayed inside the blockade line, one of which not depicted off to the eastern side, turned around before even attempting it. Any ship that would cross the blockade would result in our sailors executing pre-planned tactics designed to bring the force to that ship, if need be, board the ship and take her over. And that includes a series of escalated force options, which could include warning shots and others. Next slide. The final graphic shows taken at 11:20 p.m. the night of 14 April. You can see that the captains of all these ships have made the wise decision not to move, transit, or run this blockade. As I mentioned, so far 13 ships have made the wise choice of turning around. And as we continue to hold this blockade at the order of the Secretary and the President, any vessel that compares to comply with our instructions will be dealt with accordingly. As of this morning, U.S. Central Command has not been required to board any particular ships. And I'll remind you that we are also conducting similar maritime interdiction actions and activities in the Pacific AOR against those ships that left that area before we began the blockade. Before I turn it over to Admiral Cooper, I want to talk briefly today about the men and women enforcing the blockade, America's sailors and Marines, and today particularly our destroyer and surface forces. When we talk about an American destroyer, it's important that you and the American people understand their capabilities. An Arleigh Burke-class destroyer are the backbone of the United States Navy surface fleet. Over 500 feet long, they displace 9,000 tons, and it is the sports car of the United States Navy. From the keel to the mast, they stand nearly 10 stories tall, and their 4 gas turbine engines can drive the ship at 30-plus knots.
Nice.
These ships are armed to the teeth with surface-to-air missiles, land attack cruise missiles, anti-ship missiles, anti-submarine rockets, torpedoes, 5-inch naval guns, multiple electronic warfare systems, embarked helicopters, extending the reach and capability of each and every one of these destroyers. But far and away, the most important weapon on board these ships is the American sailor. Over 300 warfighters are the heart and soul of these warships. At sea, sometimes for months, and these ships out in the CENTCOM AOR have been out there for months. They operate around the clock in a constant state of readiness, always delivering for our joint force. It's hot in the engine room. The engineering team keeps the lights on and the ship powered and able to respond to the orders from the bridge. On that bridge, our sailors maintain a constant watch, maneuvering the ship tactically and safely through always congested water space. And there is a lot out there. It is like driving a sports car through a supermarket parking lot on a payday weekend with thousands of kids in that parking lot as you attempt to maneuver through there to get to that ship that would attempt to run that blockade. Down in the Combat Information Center, the CIC, the Tactical Warfare Center of the ship, that is where the decisions are made. As threats appear, these young sailors are making real-time decisions on how to identify these threats and handle them, and they always deliver. These ships are run by the youngest sailors in our surface warfare Navy. The helmsman, the sailor on the watch at the bridge, is normally just between 18 to 19 years old, and they are trusted to drive this warship through that supermarket parking lot without hitting anything. The conning officer, an equally young commissioned officer who's normally just a few years out of college is the ones that are giving that young helmsman the orders on where to take that American warship to
lot of people
execute
go to the
mission
military
that the
instead of
Secretary
college.
and the President has given us. These are incredibly well-trained sailors. They are led by incredible leaders, salty, experienced leaders, and trusted with deep responsibility. And I'm so humbled and proud of America's Navy. These sailors choose to take the road less traveled to go into the historic surface Navy, and they deliver every single day. Yeah. Finally, as I often do, I want to highlight one of those surface sailors today and remember our fallen. Today we remember Ensign Robert Thompson of the U.S. Laffey, who died on this day in 1945 in the Battle of Okinawa. He was killed while fighting a fire along with 31 others as 2 Japanese kamikaze aircraft hit their ship. He passed away 1 week after his 22nd birthday and was posthumously awarded the Navy Cross. We remember Ensign Thompson today and all of our World War II vets who continue to give us the gift of a great example. And those surface warfare sailors who are out there doing the job right now take the courage, grit, and determination that those World War II vets gave us into these actions and activities that they're tasked to do every single day. So now I'd like to turn it over to Admiral Cooper to give us a readout of his recent trip to the region.
Well, good morning, and Mr. Secretary, thank you for the kind invitation, and Chairman, great to join you. It's a real honor to be here representing the more than 50,000 American service members deployed throughout the Middle East today, supporting operations. And it's great to have the opportunity to highlight the tremendous efforts our warfighters operating forward and the important partnerships with regional allies that continue to thrive. In fact, yesterday I returned from my second trip to the Middle East in the past 15 days. 2 very different visits. One during our offensive operations against Iran, and the second in this most recent trip during the ongoing ceasefire. Very different. During both of my recent trips, I visited with our troops who were deployed across the region in more than 70 different locations, in a distance that largely spans between Florida and Arizona. I've long believed that every success that we have starts and ends with our people, and boy does this shine through brightly. During these visits, I had the privilege of personally recognizing more than 100 servicemen and women for their extraordinary valor, their courage, and their initiative under fire and delivering fire. And every time I interact with these young men and women downrange, I am deeply inspired by their courage, their resilience, and their unwavering commitment. The stories are remarkable. In many cases, you've seen this play out over TV. Fighter pilots who took out Iranian missile launchers in the moments prior to their launch against Americans and our partners, and who hit key military targets in and around Tehran on the attack more than 13,000 times. I met with some of the teams that helped to bring our F-15 airmen home safely from Iran and heard first-person accounts of the stories. Absolute heroes. I spent time with our troops who are employing cutting-edge tactics and technology for the first time in warfare. I won't be able to talk about what those are, but these young men and women are breaking new ground. It's incredibly inspiring. I met with teams who launched our own one-way attack drones into Iran. These were originally Iranian-designed drones. We brought them back to America, took the guts out, put a made American stamp on them, and fired them right back to Iran. Very effective. I met with teams who are employing AI every single day to help us sift through vast amounts of information to help us make decisions faster. And importantly, humans are always in the loop in this process. I met with our Space Force teams and our cyber specialists, whose work cannot be discussed, but who serve with indispensable impact. I met with our logisticians and sustainers all over the region. There is just no military that executes logistics like the U.S. military. This group is doing exceptional work, moving thousands of tons every single day. I met with our air defenders who shot down Iranian ballistic missiles. My message for this group in particular is that their actions most certainly saved thousands of lives across the Middle East during Epic Fury. And all told, my personal assessment is, after these couple of trips, is our troops are highly motivated, they're focused, they're vigilant, and they're ready. And they're using this time to do a couple of things. We're rearming, we're retooling, and we're adjusting our tactics, techniques, and procedures. There's no military in the world that adjusts like we do, and that's exactly what we're doing right now during the ceasefire. A little note about partners. My discussion with regional allies and partners, both at the senior civilian level and the senior military level, reinforced our shared commitment to regional security. But beyond that, having now fought together side by side, I assess that our military partnerships are stronger than ever as we continue to maintain a very active defense posture across the region during this ceasefire. And that posture stretches across the entire Arabian Peninsula, and it runs from northern Iraq all the way down into the northern Arabian Gulf. In creating the largest air defense umbrella in the world across the Middle East, we embedded specially trained U.S. military air defenders alongside our partner nation soldiers, side by side, literally side by side. And to give you a sense of their contribution and impact, the King and Crown Prince of Bahrain both personally knew our soldiers by name. These leaders expressed appreciation for our service member who continue to stand shoulder to shoulder with our partners in support of regional defense. And this is a sentiment that is widely shared across every Gulf ally. I heard this message over and over again, which is, we stand with you. As the Secretary and the Chairman have said, Bahrain, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, and Jordan have been exceptional teammates. I had a chance to meet with both their senior leadership as well as their troops. Boy, equally inspiring and equally committed to mutual defense. They defended Americans and they defended their own country. It was inspiring. And there's been no better teammate than Israel. Together, the four best air forces in the world, the Israeli Air Force, the U.S. Air Force, and the air forces of the U.S. Navy and U.S. Marine Corps, together met and exceeded our own military objectives over and over again. Twice in the past 2 weeks, I've met with the Israeli Chief of Defense to ensure that we remain closely aligned, and we do. And then finally, let me just close by saluting the brave men and women who are in uniform and who continue to answer the call with unrivaled lethality, great teamwork, and resolve. We've asked them to stay ready during this period, and that's exactly what they're doing. I couldn't be prouder, and I know that you and the American people share in that same pride. Thank you so much.
Right, oil futures running up a little.
Thank you. Alexandra Ingersoll, One American News.
For years, you traded tickers. Now trade the headlines. Economy, culture, sports.
Commercials.
At this juncture, ergo, how are we enforcing a ceasefire with an enemy who has virtually no command and control? And then one other question about the Houthis being, have the Houthis been an issue in the Straits of Hormuz and Bab Strait at the Red Sea, or are we tracking that militarily?
Appreciate that. On the ceasefire front, it's right. Their command and control capabilities are highly degraded, so their ability to talk, see, sense is at the worst it's ever been. But their motivation to want to stay in the ceasefire is very high because they understand that a violation of that ceasefire means a commencement, once again, of Admiral Cooper's forces, which went very poorly for them. So they have a high incentive to maintain that ceasefire, even though they can't talk and organize as well as they'd like to. And then as far as the Houthis, thus far, they have stayed out of it, which, of course, we think is a good decision by them, and I think is a reflection of the fact that over a year ago in Operation Rough Rider, we had an ongoing and intense campaign that demonstrated American capabilities, which has them hesitating to want to do something on that strait, which I think would be a poor choice. Right.
Good morning, Mr. Secretary, gentlemen. David Zia, Real America's Voice. As commercial shipping ramps up, you know, there was 130 ships a day going through there. As that happens, ships have to anchor up, right, and wait to pass through the narrow strait. Is there any progress with an international force to phase out U.S. military-led escorts or other? Is anyone stepping up to do that?
It's a great question.
Long term.
They should be. There's a lot of talk, and what we've seen in this conflict from allies, and those, there's a lot of talk, except for the ones that were mentioned by Admiral Cooper in the region who've been phenomenal. Other allies have talked a lot and haven't done anything. And as the President has pointed out, this is a waterway that the American commerce doesn't use all that much. We don't rely on the energy coming out of the Strait of Hormuz, but Asia does, and Europe does, and large parts of the rest of the world do.
That's
and
why
so
this
their
is
ability
such
to
a
muster a collective defense or a clearing.
That's why this is such a tactical thing.
the talk about it, but when shots were fired and those countries were needed the most, they weren't there. They weren't in the strait. They weren't alongside us. Their leaders weren't rallying what they have of their navies. If they decide after CENTCOM does the heavy lifting, which again, they should be able to do. We should live in a world where other countries can defend waterways, not just the United States Navy. Should that conclude, which we believe it will, then we would welcome other countries coming in after the fact. But you can't live in a world in perpetuity, and this is a message to the rest of the world and our allies, where you just rely on America to continually do the heavy lifting. Oh, Iran might get a nuclear bomb. Who's going to do something about it? America. And America only. Other allies need to invest in their capabilities so they can project power and do basic tasks like clearing a strait.
Why should they, as long as we are?
But it would be wonderful to see it if it ever materialized. Yes.
I kind of feel like, maybe if we backed off of it a little bit, man, just let some of these jackasses who don't want to help get screwed. But, I understand that would conflict with our interests. In a perfect world.
Embassy accounts are sharing an AI video of Jesus Christ bloodily killing President Donald Trump. Does the Pentagon have a response to this, including the fact that this AI Jesus is casting Trump into hell?
Shut up.
And then finally, for Admiral Cooper,
just shut up.
Speak to us about the morale of the American service members that you're seeing.
You have the opportunity to ask these people something of importance, and you're going to ask about fucking AI Jesus? Get out.
As far as the status of the individual you mentioned, I believe it's the same. Not a lot coming from him right now, understandably so. A lot of fear. Believed to be alive, wounded, and disfigured. Status remains the same. As far as a video like that, of course, that's disgusting and detached from reality.
It's
Iran
stupid.
says a lot of things in the propaganda space
based
on complete lies, and their actions have been lies. Oh, we don't target. We see missiles going into civilian facilities and hotels in the Gulf states. They said we only target military targets as you watch drones and missiles go into. So they are going to misrepresent, lie, spin in a multitude of ways, which we are quite used to. Ultimately, they need to come to the table and make a deal. And
they won't.
Hand it over to Admiral Cooper, please.
Yeah, I would just reiterate my previous comment. Morale is very high. And anyone in the military can take about 2 seconds to figure out what morale looks like by meeting around it with the people. And it is crystal clear. These are motivated young men and women. I had the wonderful privilege of writing a letter early on in the operation to the team forward. And I told them this was going to be a mission of extreme consequence. And serving at a time where you are making a difference, consequential, as the Secretary and the Chairman have described over and over again, is incredibly and deeply meaningful. And I think that's the key part of the drive, as well as being great teammates across the board. It's a privilege to watch.
Jerry.
Thank you. Jerry Delmevio with Just the News. I have a couple of questions. First is some critics of the Trump administration policy, including former NCTC Director Joe Kent, have attempted to claim that the Trump administration's policy of zero enrichment for the Iranians is not actually President Trump's policy, but was foisted upon him by the Israelis. Looking back, doing a bit of a refresher for myself, I saw that zero enrichment was the Trump State Department's policy in the first admin.
Just stop for a second. As someone who, unlike the individual you referenced, is in the presence of the president nearly every day and has been inside every single key meeting that has happened surrounding the idea of Operation Epic Fury, not a single thing has been foisted upon the President of the United States. President Trump makes his own decisions about the interests of this country and defending our interests, and then working with allies and partners, in this case, Israel, who's got a lot of will and a lot of capabilities, which we're grateful for. Nothing gets foisted on President Trump. So those people who are not in those meetings who like to say things about that are just flat wrong.
I had a quick one for Admiral Cooper, if that's okay. Thank you, sir, and thank you for being here. So during Operation Epic Fury, 13 U.S. service members have lost their lives, some of them in an apparent aircraft refueling accident, and some of them from Iranian strikes, including a drone strike. I was wondering if you could share a little bit with us about how those Iranian strikes were able to be successful, and what lessons you've learned, and how you're applying those lessons in the future to make sure that we're we're able to defend a little bit better against that sort of
Sure,
thing.
really broad question, but first, we will always honor the fallen. And the 13 who lost their lives really helped steel the resolve and congeal the motivation of the forces that are conterred. I met many people who knew the fallen personally. I met many who were reported as wounded and are back. 90% of those who have been wounded have been back to duty. It gives you a sense of purpose and motivation. We have collected dozens, if not hundreds, of lessons learned. And as we sit here right now, the Joint Force across the board is taking them and very tactically applying them right now, right here, right now. If I think about a football analogy, if it's halftime or between the third and fourth quarter, great teams are always adjusting, and we are certainly a great team, and that's what we're doing right now, taking the lessons and applying them in a meaningful way. What those are, I'm not going to talk about.
I'll say they extend also outside of CENTCOM and across the rest of the Joint Force. We are a learning organization, so adversaries around the world should recognize that and be aware of that.
No doubt. And likewise, I mean, the chairman and I
To
have had
my
the opportunity
adversaries, better
to greet
recognize
those 13 and their families at Dover, and it does steel our resolve. And I can just attest to the planning that went into every aspect of this, and force protection, ensuring that CENTCOM has whatever it needs and that they're taking the proper posture has always been number one in this effort. Last question.
Thank you, Secretary Hegseth. There's reporting that says U.S. intelligence indicates China is preparing weapons shipments to Iran during this ceasefire.
They've
What's your
already sent
reaction? Are
weapons.
these reports accurate, and what would be the consequences
Yes,
for the
accurate.
Chinese if they move forward with these shipments?
Nothing. We ain't gonna
Well,
do
as you
shit
know,
about
President
it.
Trump has a very strong and direct relationship with President Xi, and they communicate.
Operation Epic Fury. Several points we want to touch on here. Quickly recapping for you before we bring in Dr. Robert Hodges with Virginia Tech to recap all of this. I wanted to share this on your screen. This is just one of those posts there from Secretary Hegseth. As we learned that he said here, Iran is moving around its assets, but is unable to replenish its military power almost 7 weeks into this war. The secretary pressed this idea repeatedly in these opening minutes of his morning briefing. He said, quote, "You can move things around, but you can't actually rebuild." He was speaking directly to Tehran's leaders and telling them they no longer have a viable defense industry.
They were seen, Iranians were seen digging some of their missile launchers out from underneath the rubble from some mountainous bat cave of their, that we bombed. They were seen digging their shit out. So that should tell you what options they have if they're opting to dig things out, right? That was a satellite image. I saw that. I forget where I saw that. But yeah, very interesting indeed. Now, I'm going to go over to Bloomberg. Actually, let's go to Schwab. Because all the other networks right now, you can bet they're just sitting around commenting on what we all just heard. And personally, I don't care.
Long-term compounders in a strange way. We're looking at a company that has the deep scientific roots at Alphabet are unmatched. I mean, the deep...
Ooh, my 2 oil futures are finally showing a little bit of green. I am a whole whopping $10 up, which is only a reflection because I bought in at 91.55. It's only gone up 50 cents, and I've made $10. And I imagine if it goes up $10. Okay, that's the beauty of these futures. You trade with, I think it was like 5 or 10x leverage, something like that. There are links to Coinbase if you'd like to get in on futures in the description there, among others.
Well, they make sense getting into or digging deeper into the chips business versus an Allbirds who says they're going to be an AI company now. I'm sure you saw that headline, which is wow. All right. Sorry, I don't want to go too far on that tangent there. Let's talk about another name that, you've got your eye on. This one's interesting to me. You like U-Haul. On a year-over-year basis, it's an underperformer, but I guess with your value approach, you see an opportunity here. I'm curious to know the thesis behind this one, especially when you think about, because I attach this, I think about the housing market and the challenges of the housing market, which has been pretty frozen. But why do you like this one?
Yeah, we've been long-term holders also of U-Haul. It's actually a family-controlled business by the Schoen family, and we like it because they run it like business owners would. And we see like there's basically two companies within a company. You've got the trucking side that you're referring to, which is basically the Kleenex brand of self-moving, right? You've got customers, think about it, you've got customers driving around in trucks, basically driving billboards, and basically 1 in 20 of those trucks are represented by the capital that we manage. So we're clearly very interested in that. But then you have a whole other side of the business that's a self-storage business. And because they don't report their financials in a way that allows you to easily comp.
Let's go over to Ion News.
The U.S. use force to stop them. And how would Iran and other nations respond to that if that happens? And earlier, we'd spoken to John Rosamondo, who is the president of Viking Research Associates, also a geostrategist and expert on U.S. national security. He spoke to us a while ago. Listen in.
Well, I would call China's reaction hypocritical. It vetoed a measure that would have called Iran to task for its violation of international law with its blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. So, I mean, we've had two times in UN history, Korea in 1950 and against Saddam Hussein in 1991, where the UN has given an authorization of force. So the President of the United States has decided to enact a low-cost effort against Iran to choke off its source of funding.
I'm going to go over to Bloomberg, baby. Well, shit. Ion started playing music like they were going to commercial, and then they came back from it. What's up with that? Check out Bloomberg.
Actually, which is crazy. These companies have stayed private for so long because they can, because the capital is available for them, the opportunity's there. And now they're coming public. These valuations, these market caps, just ginormous, unthinkable more than a decade ago.
Yeah, and it transforms the dynamics in markets. If you think about it, the overall stock portfolio has actually been shrinking as as a share of the economy going forward. Suddenly it's going to expand. So we'll see some interesting dynamics under the hood, too, as these companies need to cap that much more capital going forward.
The opening bout just around the corner, about 43 minutes away. Equity futures doing okay, up by 0.1%. Let's get you some single names, some morning movers. Danny Berger's back with us with more. Hey, Danny.
Hey, John, looking at a market that's up today, and so is Hims and Hers. RFK Jr. announcing that the government was looking at removing some restrictions around peptides, specifically Category 2 restrictions. Basically, what all of that means is if they were removed, it would be easier to both prescribe and sell peptides. Great news for Hims and Hers, because literally in February, they acquired a California plant that produces them. So shares are up a nice almost 7.5%. Elsewhere, some sell-side action. Bad news for Flutter, a double downgrade from Citi. In fact, they lowered their price target by 57%. This is a stock that's already lost half of its value. They warn about greater competition, and especially from prediction markets, and that they might lower their outlook when they have their 2026 earnings. So shares are off 2.6%.
Flutter
PepsiCo,
Entertainment.
they were out with earnings this morning, beat basically everywhere thanks to lower prices. They've lowered prices by about 15%. Most of their sales, though, the real growth came from international markets. They've been facing pressure from Elliott Management. Some of the majority of gains coming off a little bit. They're now just up 0.4%, and also announcing a new and healthier Gatorade for health-conscious consumers. Apparently lower sugar and more hydration. So there you go. PepsiCo slightly higher this morning, John.
We'll take that. Danny, thank you. Thanks for the update. Looking forward to the programming with Danny and Matt Miller in about 10, 11 minutes' time. A new, healthier, upgraded Gatorade.
Less sugar, but more electrolytes. I think that's a win.
Shut up. Who
right?
cares?
Honestly.
I'm going to go over to Fox and Friends, which is typically not available on YouTube.
This into its objectives, where we eradicate their ability to enrich uranium and knock out their ballistic missile capability and get through all our objectives here.
Colonel, you can also, the fact that China's not getting anything in and out
also helps us pressure the Iranians, correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. China and Russia are really the last friends that Iran has left in the world. And so they can't get anything in, they can't get anything out. That's hurting them. That's potentially going to turn them against Iran, or at least push them further away from Iran. So, you know, all of this is helping our effort. These levels of pressure are layering onto one another and really pushing down on the regime right now. And the regime is devastated, as Secretary Hegg said, identified. You know, Mojtaba Khomeini is miles underground right now. He's not on any communication device. They're passing notes to him. So it's unclear where he is with the negotiations, or who's talking to him, or what he's saying about all this. So it is complicated. I think this is going to take weeks further, but we're prepared. I really do, yeah. But we're prepared to stay those weeks further. We're prepared to continue to fight, continue to negotiate, continue to blockade, continue any way this thing goes.
And really quickly, if they're meeting in Pakistan, let's say the last meeting, and our leaders were saying it was really difficult because it sounded like the leaders they sent couldn't make a decision because they'd have to have approval. But the guy they need approval from is underground, can't communicate. So do they literally have to leave Pakistan, go back to him, and not be traced, pass him notes in some capacity so that he's not found and we're not watching him? How difficult would this negotiation be under these circumstances?
Yeah, thank you.
Pretty
exactly.
damn.
So that's what's making this much more complicated, is they've actually have to leave the region. They've got to go back into Iran. They've got to get communication. And you know, you're talking about like World War I level communication with Mojtaba Khomeini in order to get approval for what we're looking for. And you know, traditionally, you know, negotiations with Iran takes a long time. So I never thought you were going to get this done
because they buy
in
their
this
time.
10 days. Negotiations with Iran takes a very long time. They're always lying about things. They're always changing things. And so I just think the negotiations, I think we've got to be patient with this, you know. And so I think we're going to remain patient.
It's hard because of the economic aspect of it, gas and oil.
I'm willing to, because this just proves they did this to us, and then we come back and do more. They try to control the strait, we come back and control the strait. So even though the gas prices, and I do feel for many of the people out there, I do think in the long run, to prevent them from getting a nuclear weapon is far more important.
Just don't believe whatever you hear from the other networks. We're winning this thing. Colonel, thanks so much for joining the program.
And thank you for your service.
Thank you. And patience is the message here. Thank you.
Yes.
More Fox and Friends straight ahead.
Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth, baby?
Make summer grilling unforgettable.
Ain't that the bloody truth? Looks like my oil future was doing better than it is at the moment. I was up $11 because of a whole 50 cents-ish move. I bought in at 91.55. It's at 91.92, and I'm up $7. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Not as good as it should be. Come on, baby. Run up to $200 a barrel. Just for a couple minutes so I can make some cash. And you come back down. I was trying to find some propaganda news because they're so much fun, aren't they? Let's see here. Let's see what Ion News is talking. Actually, you know what? I want to go over to Asia News. I do love watching these foreign news channels. It's just good to have perspective of what the rest of the world is telling everybody.
But obviously of a robot chasing them, that's a new one.
I don't care about robots. Trying to see who's being a dick in the world and who's getting propped up by a mainstream media source, right? Today there are talks between Lebanon and Israel, and these people have the audacity to give Hezbollah a box to stand on. Hezbollah condemns the talk. Fuck off with Hezbollah. Don't even give them a voice. They have no sovereignty. They are nothing. They are turds on the bottom of my shoe.
Over a prolonged conflict or deeper military involvement. Concerns over global trade routes, energy security, and possible retaliation are adding to a sense of unease. The ceasefire may have lowered the temperature, but it has not removed the risk. The ceasefire may hold or it may not. But one thing is clear, for many Americans, this war is no longer just about foreign policy. It is about their economy, their security and their future. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Saudi Arabia is demanding the U.S. to stop the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz and return to the negotiating
Saudi Arabia is
table.
demanding,
There are
are they?
fears that U.S. President Donald Trump's move could lead Iran to disrupt other shipping routes. Saudi Arabia has suffered massive losses not just militarily but economically during the course of the war. Saudi Arabia claims its critical infrastructure has been impacted in Iran's strikes on U.S. bases. According to the Saudi authorities, the strikes collectively slashed Saudi's oil output by approximately 600,000 to 700,000 barrels per day. The country has suffered financial losses over $10 billion. The industrial and energy hubs have been the worst hit in Iran war, a claim Tehran has outrightly denied. Iran claims it was only retaliating to U.S. strikes in the region. On April 7th, Saudi Arabia's Al Jubail petrochemical complex, well, it is the heart of the kingdom's downstream energy sector and home to multi-billion-dollar joint ventures. On March 28th, an Iranian missile attack wounded at least 10 U.S. service members and damaged several U.S. refueling aircraft at Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia.
A week ago, on March 19th, oil giant Saudi Aramco's Samref refinery in the Red Sea, port of Yanbu, was targeted in an aerial attack. However, there were reports of minimal impact. The stakes are high for Saudi, the largest and the most influential economy in the Gulf region. Riyadh has warned Washington that U.S. blockade might prompt Houthis to block the Bab al-Mandeb Strait in retaliation.
Shit.
The Bab al-Mandeb Strait links the Red Sea with the Gulf of Aden in the northern Indian Ocean and is an important stop on the Saudi oil export route. A report by Wall Street Journal says Houthis have assured Saudi Arabia that they will not attack its territory or vessels. However, Saudi officials believe that the situation remains unstable. They do not rule out the possibility that the Houthis may start charging for passage through the Bab al-Mandeb Strait.
Kill them all.
Hormuz disruptions have triggered an unprecedented supply chain shock. At the center of the risk are several major companies that operating outside the U.S. and are dependent on the Strait of Hormuz. Saudi Aramco, the world's largest oil exporter, heavily relies on Hormuz to move crude and LNG to global markets. Over $1 trillion is at stake for Saudi Aramco after the Iran war. Among others are PetroChina and Shell, who are highly exposed to this disruption. As the standoff between U.S. and Iran deepens, Pakistan is racing to bring both the sides together for more talks.
Good luck with
It
that.
has proposed hosting second rounds of talks between Iran and the U.S. According to reports, Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Army Chief Asim Munir are set to visit Saudi Arabia in the coming days. They are set to discuss the way forward to fragile Iran truce and revise their strategic mutual defense agreement. There are reports of Pakistan and Saudi following up with China. According to a report by New York Post, Trump has hinted at second round of peace talks with Iran in Pakistan. Reports citing Trump says the talks could take place in the next 2 days.
Lebanon and Israel's preliminary round of talks have concluded in Washington. It needs to be awaited as to what, of course, is the outcome of these talks.
Not much.
Saudi Arabia is demanding for the United States to stop the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz and return to the negotiating table. There are fears that the U.S. President Donald Trump's move could lead Iran to disrupt other shipping routes as well, including the Red Sea corridor.
Hey.
Saudi Arabia has suffered massive losses, not
this.
just militarily, but also economically during the course of this war.
Damn
Saudi Arabia says that its critical infrastructure has been impacted.
Check this out. This should tell you the level of intelligence we're dealing with in these other countries. Now, these other countries that are creating, they're hijacking our own news and pumping it out as their news, or they're just making up complete BS. Look at this nonsense. Where'd it go? The headline. We will sink U.S. shops. Yeah, they're sinking our shops, guys. That's what we're dealing with. Brilliant people. They're sinking our shops.
On the 28th of March, an Iranian missile
see what
attack
shops they're
killed at
sinking.
least about 10 U.S. service members and damaged several U.S. refueling aircraft at Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia. A week ago, on the 19th of March, oil giant Saudi Aramco's Samref refinery in the Red Sea port of Yanbu was targeted in an aerial attack. However, there were reports of minimal impact. The stakes are really high for Saudi Arabia, the largest and the most influential economy in the Gulf region. Riyadh has warned Washington that the U.S. blockade might prompt Houthis to block the Bab el-Mandeb Strait in retaliation. The Bab el-Mandeb Strait links the Red Sea with the Gulf of Aden, the northern Indian Ocean, and is an important stop on the Saudi oil export route.
All right.
A report by the Wall Street Journal says that the Houthis have assured Saudi Arabia that they will not attack its territory or vessels. However, Saudi officials believe that the situation still remains very, very unstable, and they've not ruled out the possibility that the Houthis may start charging for passage through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait.
Fuck the Houthis.
Hormuz disruption has triggered an unprecedented supply chain shock. At the center of the risk are several major companies that are operating outside the U.S. and are dependent on the Strait of Hormuz. Saudi Aramco, the world's largest oil exporter, heavily relies on Hormuz to move crude and LNG to the global markets. Over $1 trillion is at stake for Saudi Aramco after the Iran war. Among others are PetroChina and Shell, who are also highly exposed to the disruptions.
I'm gonna go over to India news. These guys are hilarious.
Threat here is of secondary sanctions that America is threatening at this point in time. There are sanctions over deals, and of course the sanctions now as far as the global banking system is also concerned. America flagging Iran money flow through global system, with China of course buying 90% of Iran's oil exports. Iran, remember, accounts for 8% of China's energy needs. America threatening secondary sanctions, once again saying US is prepared to impose these sanctions, secondary ones, on Chinese financial institutions if they are found facilitating Iranian financial flows. We're staying with the war, and more news coming in, with America claiming that Peace Talks 2.0 is likely in Islamabad yet again. On being asked where the next round of peace talks will be held, White House press secretary has said they would very likely be in the same place as they were last time. They are the only mediator in this negotiation, while there have been many countries around the world
and they
that
will
want
likely yield the same results.
The president feels it's important to continue to streamline this.
They aren't really telling us too much today. They'll get to it. Trust me, they are hilarious.
My impression is that Ireland, that the Irish government has prepared itself well. Yes, we know.
Yeah, I don't care about Ireland's news here lately. Nobody cares at the moment. There's a lot going on over there, however. There is some violence erupting over there, but it's not really a concern of ours over here in the States.
Tuesday. We have team coverage and analysis from our panel this morning, but we begin with Foreign Affairs correspondent Alex Salvi in Washington. Alex?
Yes, Shannon, we heard the Secretary of War say that the U.S. military is prepared to resume at a moment's notice if these negotiations break down. But still, American negotiators in constant contact with their Iranian counterparts as the race is on to reach a deal before President Trump's April 22nd deadline. The team, led by Vice President J.D. Vance and Special Envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, are moving closer to a framework of a deal.
Fun fact, that's right around my birthday.
The Iranians are gradually advancing.
I'm going to be sleeping in my car on my birthday, most likely.
Substantial differences between the two sides as President Trump stands by his hardline demands.
We feel good about the prospects of a deal. The president mentioned that in his interview yesterday. And it's obviously in the best interest of Iran to meet the president's demands. I think he's made his red lines in these negotiations very clear to the other side. And so we are continuing to see how these conversations go.
And a new round of direct in-person talks will likely take place in the coming days before the ceasefire expires, likely once again taking place in Pakistan, although no date or official confirmation has yet been announced. A Pakistani delegation arriving in Tehran on Wednesday for talks with Iranian officials in hopes of bridging some of the remaining differences. The White House is praising the government in Islamabad.
I find it hilarious that these talks are being held in friggin' Pakistan. I mean, when 9/11 happened, we were all over Pakistan. In fact, just 11 miles away from where these meetings are taking place is where we, in joint efforts with Pakistani police, are actually arrested a major Al Qaeda member. 11 miles from where these talks are taking place. I know it's probably really no big deal, but I find that fascinating. My, how things change, huh? I'm going to go over to Bloomberg. They're talking about money. Shit. Where are you at, Bloomberg? What the hell? There we go. Let's pay attention to what they're saying.
Old goes to an Elon Inc. company. Mostly SpaceX. So Elon's other companies are the biggest single buyer of Cybertruck. It hasn't really resonated with the US audience.
We are
I've been looking at the stock a lot.
We are 25 minutes away from market opening, and as you can see in the heat map, it's another mixed bag of a day. Overall, looking good. What are some of the investments that you have that you'd like me to take a look at or thinking about? Yes.
Round is a real distortion.
But growth of what? It's not car manufacturing.
Yeah,
right?
I think the terminal user's question is like, what is Tesla? That's everyone's question. The market still prices it on a future as an AI company in robotics and self-driving. The car business, bread and butter of it, it's in stasis, if you want to call it that. But so is the EV market in America. You saw the Ford news last night.
I guess since Allbirds can ramp up 600% on just an announcement, it's thinking about becoming an AI company, that anything can be worth.
I saw a report that basically, and there should be no surprise that basically all of that was retail buying, huge amounts. Yeah, but I mean, that's to say that that's flighty money. Sure, it gets you like a 1-day, 600-day pop, but then what afterwards?
Why aren't we keeping Ed for the whole show?
We should.
Ed's
like, I got work today.
Stay here.
Please let me go.
Ed has scoops to break. Ed Ludlow also has a show to anchor at 11 a.m. He'll anchor Bloomberg Tech with Caroline Hyde. And we got to get back to something that he probably doesn't care about as much. Pepsi earnings topped estimates thanks to a rebound in snack sales. Let's get a read on the company and consumer with Bloomberg Intelligence senior analyst Ken Shea. So, Ken, on the one hand, we want healthier stuff. So as Danny pointed out, they're coming out with an even healthier and, what did you say? More hydrating Gatorade. And on the other hand, consumers want salty snacks again. That's back.
That's right, Matt. The company, to their credit, is on trend. I mean, you think of all the big trends in beverages, for instance, it's fiber. Well, they bought Poppy last year. That's protein. They're reformulating muscle milk. Energy. They teamed up with Celsius, and Alani Nu is now on board. It's growing fast. Advanced hydration, as you mentioned, it's all the rage. The GLP-1 crowd needs more electrolytes. Well, Gatorade and Propel are there to help them. So, they're really doing a good job doing that. And at the same time, their core products, PepsiCo, the Pepsi brand, came out with Zero a few years ago, and it continues to grow double-digit. So, they're really on trend in their beverage business, and it's showing. This quarter is a confirmation that all the above is helping drive that top line.
I do just wonder, Ken, because part of it is also that they've cut costs, and at the same time, because of supply chain issues, plastic is more expensive, the things that actually put the food in. Fertilizers are more expensive. Food goods are probably going to get more expensive, too. What does this all mean for Pepsi's margins?
That's a good question, Danny, and that came up on the call. PepsiCo said that, just managing their business for growth and the productivity initiatives in place is shielding them quite a bit from the margin pressures that everyone's facing right now with higher energy. They also hedge both currencies and commodities, and the hedges probably won't roll off till later this year, early next. So they're covered for a while. They're not immune, but I think they feel pretty good about their goals of margin improvement for the year from the things that they already have in place.
All right, Ken, thank you very much for joining us. That's Bloomberg Intelligence senior analyst Ken Shea. Let's turn now to the Middle East, where the U.S. and Iran are weighing a 2-week ceasefire extension, with Pakistan stepping up mediation ahead of next week's deadline. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth issuing a stark warning to Iran this morning.
We are reloading with more power than ever before, and better intelligence, even more importantly, better intelligence than ever before, as you expose yourself with your movement to our watchful eye. We are locked and loaded.
Bloomberg Washington correspondent Tyler Kendall joins us from the White House. Tyler, that's not exactly language that feels like an end to this conflict. The Strait of Hormuz is still being blockaded, and it seems like a market that's treating it as if the war is over.
Right. I mean, Danny, at this point, we're hearing from the White House that diplomacy is ongoing. It's a viable option, that officials feel positive about the prospect of a potential deal. Yet at the same time, we haven't gotten any confirmation on an extension or another round of in-person talks. And as you just heard there, a pretty stark warning from Secretary Pete Hegseth. He went on to say in that bite about being locked and loaded, he was referring to Iranian infrastructure that the U.S. may target if Iran doesn't come to the table on its nuclear program, though he did say that the U.S. at this point is pursuing what he called the, quote, polite option, which is that U.S. blockade, saying that the military will be prepared to sustain it for as long as possible. We also heard from the chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Dan Kane, who confirmed that so far the U.S. hasn't had to board or seize any vessels, and that so far at least 13 vessels have obeyed U.S. commands to turn around and exit the strait. At this point, though, there has been some positive movement, right? We're hearing this rhetoric out of the White House, and Pakistan confirmed that it has sent a delegation to Iran in a bid to keep these talks going. But Matt and Danny, at this point, our own reporting does indicate that there could be this 2-week extension to the ceasefire in a bid to give negotiators, at least on the technical level, some time to work out what at least publicly appear to still be some pretty big differences before those senior officials meet again in person.
All right, Tyler, thanks very much for that. Bloomberg's Tyler Kendall at the White House on a gorgeous day. After we hit 7,000 at the close, futures are up even higher. So we're looking at gains of 0.2% on NASDAQ and S&P futures. You can see the 10-year yield unchanged at 427, 428, and Brent crude, although it's up, still with a 96 handle, $96.72 a barrel. Let's get a look at some of the single stock stories on our radar. Hims and Hers is surging after HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said the FDA plans to remove 12 peptides from Category 2 restrictions. Hims bought a peptides manufacturer last year, so if you know what those are...
They're like various supplements around things like weight loss and energy, and there's some like sketchiness. Is it okay to inject yourself with these? But the bros online love them.
It's
for
okay.
what it's worth.
Do it.
Okay. We do not give medical advice on this show, just to be abundantly clear. Elsewhere, Schwab, net new assets topped estimates for the first quarter as it saw an uptick in daily retail trading. That's the good news, but shares are down more than 2%. A lot of people just putting their assets into money market funds.
Also, actually, Allbirds shares are down. This is just in the pre-market.
Yeah, but it was up like 600%.
582% at the close.
So
At
what's
one
15?
point, the
down?
company was up 876%. And it's not a penny stock. I mean, look at that, $14.40 is how much a share costs. So those Wall Street bets guys are going crazy.
Do you remember
with this stock.
in 2017 when there was a company called Long Island Iced Tea and it changed its name
indeed.
to Long Bitcoin or whatever?
Yes.
Like this feels like just the same.
It is.
$500 million is not enough to make yourself a neocloud company.
No, and it's only 50 million. So
Sorry, what did I say?
500
Yeah, it
million.
is only 50. Yeah, you're right. Anyway, coming up, Goldman was a standout loser when it came to the rates trading desk revenue last year. We're going to take a closer look at just how and why they missed estimates by a whopping 17%. That's up next, right on the other side of this break.
Don't want to go into any commercials. If I can spare you from it, I will. Let's go over to India News because they're always so hilarious.
Given a thumbs down to the kind of statements that were made by President Donald Trump against the Pope. Trump now turns on Melanie, saying she lacks courage over U.S.-Israel war on Iran.
I'm sorry. I know it's not a popular opinion, but screw the Pope. And I'm not saying that because of any interaction between him and Trump. I've always felt this way. There's no point in a Pope. I think it's silly that the world reveres him as almost superhuman. the leader of the church. It's an unnecessary thing, in my opinion. But so is all religion, in my opinion, too. I don't think we need it. I think people are intelligent enough to define their own relationship with the hereafter. I just find it, I find it, again, I know it's an unpopular opinion, but I find it hilarious that so many people are willing to jump on board with something created by people who didn't even know where the sun went at night. You know, you have a personal relationship with whatever you want to call God. And I think to put your faith in anything that the rest of these humans on this planet have created is kind of lazy, really. I don't think it matters if you believe in whatever you call the truth or not, because it'll overcome anything, you know, whatever that truth is. And I just don't. I think religion is one of the main sources of all the problems in the world. Obviously, Islam is a huge example of that. You know, I mean, look at what it's all religion as a whole. Look at what it's done to the world. I mean, most of the worst atrocities in human history have been committed in the name of God. You know, you've never heard an atheist cry out any "in the name of nothing" battles, right? Not that I am with the whole atheist thing. I think that's a little short-sighted as well. Just my unpopular opinion. Not that my opinion matters more than anybody else's. Right. We are just 13 minutes away from the market opening bell. And it's looking like my future's doing okay. I'm up $14. When I bought in at 91.55, it's gone up a whole 70 cents. And I'm up almost $15. That's pretty good. If it were to go up $7, I would be $150 up. That's pretty good. If it ran up to $100 a barrel, I'd make $150. That's pretty damn good off of a $180 investment. Not bad. Not bad at all. Heat map looking pretty good. That's mostly green in my opinion. Well, not my opinion, but that is mostly green. The lighter the green, the higher the move. The dark green to gray is more flat than anything, if you can't see the little legend at the bottom there. Looks like RFK is in talks right now. He's facing questioning in the House and the Senate. RFK is doing really good things with the FDA, trying to get garbage out of our food system, which I don't understand how anybody can be against. It's no secret that our food is laced with poison. You know, we are the most unhealthy nation in the world as far as like processed foods and garbage in our shit is concerned. One in, huh? Garbage. So, you know, I really hope he makes some good progress in the efforts that he is putting forth. Not that he's getting any help from the opposition, which I think is a shame. Let's see what Schwab is saying.
In terms of things that
About
are
10 minutes ahead of the opening
So I
bell.
think that the group, by and large, looks attractive. Look at Russell 1000 growth is the only major index that's not in positive territory year to date.
Yeah, I mean, the Russell's about to hit a record, too. It's less than 1% off the record. I mean, the S&P, NASDAQ, Dow Jones Transportation Average, Russell's close. The Dow's not there. Let's talk about some of the other opportunities that you see in buying. I mean, and you mentioned that Mag 7 doing well in the growth, and Taiwan Semi came out and had some great numbers. So let's talk about other areas that you think have growth potential. What about financials? We heard from a lot of the financials. Which ones do you like and why? What kind?
I think the money center banks look good. The multiple in the financials has come in, and that's probably the second highest, fastest growth rate for earnings this quarter. So there's the earnings are there. There's some regulatory issues that will be in their favor, maybe less capital, less regulation. So we think there's a good tailwind for the financials.
Yeah.
So that, along with tech, is kind of a good pairing in a portfolio.
And healthcare, you like healthcare?
Healthcare still looks good. The multiples have come down. The earnings aren't quite there yet, right? So
like
they're getting cheap.
healthcare?
You got to wait for that catalyst for things to turn. You can be selective. Industrials earnings growth is there as well, but the multiple's a little bit higher. And that's why you want to have a diversified portfolio, right? Sticking with high quality and be diversified.
Right, understood. When you look forward to the end of the year, do you feel like we'll be higher than where we are now?
We do. We do. Normally, in a midterm election year, you get a rough patch, usually starting about now for the next few months, and then the market will start a rally towards the end of the year. The war kind of accelerated it this year. But I think as long as if we have double-digit earnings growth, it's hard to imagine that the market will not be higher because the multiple relative to the growth rate is really not expensive.
Is anything worrying you, whether it's private credit or the price of oil or inflation worries? What would you say is the headwind?
Yeah, private credit is obviously selectively can be problematic, and we're having more of a rush for liquidity there, a run on the banks in that space.
Does it worry you, or do you think it passes?
I think by and large it's become very isolated. I don't think it's a systemic problem. So from our vantage point, it's not going to affect the big money center banks,
right?
By and large. And I think there's a point in time where there's so much selling that's going on that it just becomes a liquidity event more than a quality event.
Understood. I mean, and the final thoughts here, just when you take a look at, like, for example, the 10-year bond yield. I mean, where do you think bond yields will be headed? Because the housing market has been pretty tight. Mortgage apps came down again. You have this K-shaped economy, which you referred to in your notes, and you're seeing the people on the upper part of the K are buying the premium seats.
I hear people screaming in the background.
And
I think,
other people, are concerned they don't have affordability to buy a home. Your final thoughts?
Yeah, so our expectation is we're going to be range bound on the 10-year, 3.5 being the low end.
Really?
Yeah, and 4.5 being the upper end. Obviously, we've been pushing closer to that upper end right now. But I think once the dust settles down in the Middle East, I think that you'll start to see rates drift down again because we have a slow growth, mature economy.
Well, it's great to see you, Glenn. Glenn Dorsey, head of client portfolio management at Clark Capital. Thank you, Glenn, for being here. Coming up, a quick break. We'll count you down to the start of trading. Lots of action here on a record-setting day.
Yeah, they'll be back, but I probably won't. Let's go over to these news whacks. What? Yeah, maybe not. Gonna see what Fox Live is up to.
He was lieutenant governor. While he served as lieutenant governor, and even afterwards, was a rising star politically, not just in Northern
Former Virginia lieutenant governor kills wife and himself. Holy shit!
It's tragic in nature. Certainly a fall for
what the hell?
From grace for a relatively high-profile family that seemingly had a lot of things going in their favor. So tragic for the children to lose both parents.
Insane.
Extra tragic for them to actually be in the home when it occurred. There's a lot going on, and our victim services division, like they always do, is leaning into the family, the surviving relatives, the children in particular, and we'll do everything we can for them.
What do we know about the gun?
Then I'll get.
Wife obviously being shot first, and the guns afterwards, the basement upstairs. Did you get all of that from the cameras inside the house today, or how were you?
So our detectives have gathered that. Certainly, there's enough cameras inside the home that we're able to corroborate some of that. But the one of the children was the 911 caller just after midnight. So he described some things to us as well that we've since corroborated. And I think I heard one question about what do we know about the gun? I don't know anything about the gun yet. The same gun that Mr. Fairfax used to kill his wife seems to be the same gun that he used to kill himself. I don't know. Well, we're going to be here for a while. Obviously, we have a search warrant we need to execute to recover evidence, and certainly included in that evidence is the primary firearm that was used and any other firearms. I don't know that they do or don't exist.
think piggybacking off that question, the cameras were still, I'm sorry. No, go ahead. The cameras were still there and rolling and operational, and that's...
I believe they were. I believe they were.
So he had set up the cameras, and well, we don't know who set up the cameras.
She
set up the cameras in the house.
Yes.
Just to clarify, but
Yeah.
he alleged that she assaulted him.
So what we know, I'm going back to January now. What we know is that
This is
Mrs.
horrible.
Fairfax, at some point in time, they lived together while they were separated in separate bedrooms.
Hey, I've done
At some
that.
point in time, we know Mrs. Fairfax installed several cameras inside the home. And we know that because when Mr. Fairfax called us to their home back in January and alleged that his wife assaulted him in the home, we were able to go to those cameras and determine that never occurred. So that's the only time that the...
Well, that's a shame. That's certainly a shame.
Got some nice GDP numbers out of China overnight, growing 5%. That was better than what the market was expecting. And certainly it seems like that export growth engine continues to rev up. So all in all, things look good. Of course, we are coming into Thursday's session with these record highs, the S&P and the NASDAQ. But I would mention that Japan actually became the latest Asian market to recoup all its losses from the war and actually hit a record high overnight as well. So we are starting to see this globally now, Nicole, and it's been really interesting. People have just been so surprised at the fashion in which we've got here. There's been a lot of stats being thrown out there. I've seen people talking about how since 1928, this is the first time the S&P has made a new all-time high in 11 days or fewer after falling 5 to 10%. It's been really interesting, actually, also, while we did hit a record high yesterday, only 12 stocks in the index actually made a 52-week high. Since 99, we've only seen 5 readings that week or worse. So really interesting dynamics in this market. Obviously, we've got Nvidia on 11-day winning streak as well. So this has been something to watch. We've obviously seen that leadership back in action, which has taken us to those all-time highs as well, Nicole. And Ed Yardeni has come out with this new acronym this morning, not FOMO, Nicole, FOMOOP. This is his new acronym that says basically investors' fear of missing out on peace in the Middle East. And he has said happy days are here again. In fact, his title of his note today is popping the champagne corks. The glass is more than half full now. So obviously a lot of
still 3 minutes out
going into today, as I think investors are just really hanging on to obviously this next round of talks and what that could potentially bring as far as an end to this war.
All right, and I like how you said that. Okay, she gives us the new language that we have to keep up with.
Yeah.
That's good.
Too many acronyms.
Also, Google in talks to allow the Pentagon to
2
use
minutes
Gemini
remaining.
models. That's in classified settings. That's according to the information. But that's something to watch here as the opening bell breaks, too. That's been some breaking news over the last half hour as well. You're also watching the Live Nation verdict.
Yeah, so this broke yesterday in market on close, just around the closing bell here. And what we saw was a 6-week trial that wrapped up with the federal jury actually finding and ruling Live Nation, which is, of course, Ticketmaster is under, as illegally monopolizing the industry, Nicole. So this includes overcharging people for tickets to events. So they found concert goers to have overpaid by $1.72 per ticket. Doesn't sound like a lot, but as we know over the years, people have long complained about fees for concert tickets. And this has even been criticized apparently by artists like, I was reading Taylor Swift, for instance. It comes after years of regulatory scrutiny
1
here.
minute
It's been
remaining.
seen as a big win for a number of states, more than 30, which really pursued this case. But as far as the immediate impact here, we'll have to wait and see if this does prompt any changes subsequently to come from this, whether they have to pay this money back, Nicole, how much it would actually cost Live Nation. There has been a suggestion I was also reading about
Now,
as
as
well in some
usual,
of these reports that it could lead
the bell
potentially
rings
to a possible
about 7
breakup
seconds
of the
before
company.
you hear me
we
say
have
it.
to wait and see, particularly if they are talking about having illegally monopolized the industry, maybe a bit too big for their boots. But the next step is obviously working out the penalties and punishment for this. Now, obviously, just a fractional gain ahead of the cash open right now, but we did see that come off considerably following the breaking news just
Here it
yesterday.
comes.
All right. Here we go. Sam Bottas, thank you.
Here it
Folks,
comes.
Ready for the opening bell here on Wall Street. Here we go.
Boom. And we're off. Boy, they get excited, don't they? Every morning.
for the S&P 500 this morning, folks. The S&P right now is 7,033. It is up 10 points here, but has already hit a new record high.
Damn.
As far as the NASDAQ here, I'm watching that for action also. New record high for the NDX. And,
I'm seeing a lot of red.
Far off for the Russell.
I'm seeing NVIDIA taking a
Here are
dump.
the exact numbers right now. The S&P's at 7,032,
Fluttered.
up 9 points. The NASDAQ 100 up 30 points at 26,235. The Dow Jones Industrial
Broadcom
Average up 1/4%,
plummeting.
48,571.
ST Microelectronics down.
Almost 1 point.
Astronics, look at that candle.
Oil and gold are both higher, and the 10-year bond yield is at 4.27. As far as sectors here, I'm seeing a lot of green. The only down arrows are healthcare and utilities. Everything
What are you talking
else
about?
well into the green, led by real estate, energy, and communications services. So there you have it. So these are the first moves of the open. We're looking like pretty much a 75% up day. I'm joined now by Diane King Hall here on set.
It's a bold claim.
Exciting day on Wall Street, Diane.
Come on, oil,
as
run up
we are
too.
Now looking at markets that have once again hit record highs for the S&P and for the NASDAQ. And it's a great day for folks who were feeling pretty crummy after the 5 weeks of selling and
Bitcoin
being
taking
in
a
correction
dump.
territory. Now it has run up.
Bitcoin coming down. My crude oil futures were coming down. It looks like it's stumbling on the down direction. Hopefully it comes right back up. Brent doing the same thing. Dollar tipping upwards as well. Silver hanging on to its a little bit of coming up, but it's overall it's a little down. It's got a ways to go. Gold mostly sideways. NVIDIA down 1%. Apple down. Broadcom down. AMD is up. Microsoft is up. There's a lot of up in the market, really. There's mostly green. The crypto heat map is looking flat to green overall for the last hour. We've got some winners. Meme Core USD up almost 20%. That's pretty badass. Cardano up 1%. We've got a lot of good winners in the crypto space. Uniswap, I think that is, up 2%. XLM up 5%. Let's see some of the biggest wieners. Optimus Healthcare Services up 50,000%. Congratulations if you got any of that. We're going to move down a little bit because a lot of those crazy numbers are just that. They're just crazy. Got a lot of 100%ers. CBD Life Sciences, eh? A lot of marijuana stocks doing pretty well. Nutrapharma Corp. Bioscience. General Steel Holdings. American Battery Materials. Got a lot of really good winners here. Let us go and see some of the biggest wieners that we can find here. I like going to this part of TradingView because there's so much information. TradingView is such an excellent program, guys. You should get it. You should totally get it. I've got a link to it in the description where you can get some kind of deal. I forget what the deal is, but it's in there. All right. The biggest gainers: WeShop Holdings, Mycium, Achieve Life Sciences, Miwu Technology. The biggest losers: Allbirds Incorporated, Mind Technology, Acurx Pharmaceuticals. Nobody in there that I recognize. Let's see. We've got Hooker Furnishings earnings today. Citizens Financial Group. PepsiCo's earnings are today. InSteel Industries. KeyCorp. Bank of New York. U.S. Bancorp. The Travelers Company. IPO calendar. Arxis Inc. Madison Air Solutions. Calera Therapeutics. Alamar Bioscientists. I keep saying scientists. Yesway, Avex, Encore Medical, Perishing Square. Nobody I recognize again. World's biggest companies. Oh, look at that. Google creeping up on Nvidia. I've got a bet on Crypto.com I've had since like November. That was a 5-to-1 payout, betting on who the largest company in the world would be in June. And I've been watching Google and Apple creep up on it. I'm pretty sure Google has added almost $1 trillion to their market cap since then. I don't like seeing it that close. I think I've got like $300 invested in it, so if it pays out, I get like $1,500. What we got? A month and a half until I get paid out. So hopefully that'll stay where it is, and I'll get my cash, even though it'll go towards a $5,000 negative balance. That's okay. Looks like my oil futures are up a whopping $13. Come on. See how it was coming up and then it stumbled a little bit? That's a good thing when it turns around and keeps going up. That gives it a good strong case for possibly breaking through here. I hope it does. I hope it does. The problem is these oil futures don't operate on the same principles of support and resistance like other stocks do. These are by and large, especially when it comes to oil, especially right now, mostly affected by what's going on in the world. Dollar looking flat. Brent oil making a run for it. Even though the news is saying that it's going to come down. Can't always trust the news. Gold looking sideways. Silver about the same. Heat map. A lot of green in the heat map. So far, it's a good day in the market. I'm going to go over to Fox and see what these jerks are talking about.
Mentioned the Rural Health Transformation Program. I think that means a lot to so many of our...
Actually, I'm going to go to Schwab. Nope. All right. Well, then I'm going to go over to Bloomberg then. Get some money talk in here. See what they're saying.
We've rebuilt those reserves. Also, there's a potential for hoarding, having gone through this experience as well. And there is damage to infrastructure. So even when the Strait opens, we know that it's not going to be an immediate flow of oil, that it's going to take probably like 3 to 5 months for that full resumption to happen. But again, the consumer, the American consumer, has cash in pocket to be able to weather this. We're all in the middle of tax season. I don't know who's getting returns. I'm certainly not. But the average consumer, the average consumer is getting returns, and that's helping to cushion some of the impact.
Right. The Tax Foundation at one point said we're going to get refunds that were 10 to 15% higher than we did last year. But you got to do your own thing right in order to get that.
Are you saying you did your own thing right? I didn't.
Nadia Lovell at UBS Wealth, thanks so much for joining us. Let's get a check on the stock market right now. Danny, what do we see on the move screen?
Well, we're barely higher today, but that's enough to get us to more all-time highs, closing above 7,000 yesterday for the first time, hitting a new record, our first new record in about 6 months. So yes, we're not moving a lot, but it doesn't take a lot to get another record. A lot of the tech kind of chip makery sort of names doing well. Maybe that's because TSMC had solid earnings. Microsoft, AMD, Oracle is up there, Intel, Palantir. And then if you look at the downside, you see Apple, Nvidia, Tesla, kind of a mixed bag about both a lot of tech and the gainers and losers. Charles Schwab, they had earnings. They're one of the biggest losers, down nearly 4%. Despite the fact they had a greater AUM, a lot of that money, though, just going to money markets. So let's look at what the sectors are doing. It's kind of a weird thing because during this war, when oil prices are higher, the overall market would move lower and things like material stocks would get hit. But we're seeing this break, this disconnect, where oil prices can move higher like they are today over concerns over the Strait of Hormuz, and energy does well, along with a lot of other things. Material is doing well, even though the cost of those materials are probably getting more expensive. Utilities, real estate, industrials, financials, infotech, communication services, all of those doing well. Consumer discretionary at the bottom of the pile, Matt.
All right. Wow. Consumer discretion down there, right? I wonder if Pepsi is a consumer discretionary or
a staple.
It's probably a staple,
I feel
right?
like it's a
In
staple,
America, it's definitely a staple.
I need my Doritos. Can't survive without them.
Coming up, the Pentagon reportedly tapping automakers to help ramp up weapons production. I guess those are discretionaries. Yeah, they're filed under discretionaries. But for me, That's a staple. This is open interest.
All right, I'm not going to sing along to it for very long. Because YouTube loves to charge me $1 every time.
I think we could be live. We could definitely go higher from here.
Really? What's going to drive it?
Well, how about the fact that a couple of the sectors that were some...
My oil future broke through the $20. What did I tell you? It's coming up. Come on. Blast through there. Let's run up to $10,000 a barrel, baby. Watch the world lose its fucking mind.
Which was the case, past tense, and tech rolling over and dying. A market that was specifically energy, industrials was okay, and materials. That was basically the only thing that was working in the first quarter. Now you have everything generally melting up. Your weak spots, utilities, that's okay to be weak in a bull run. Staples, that's okay to be weak as well. And financials and tech now getting their relief here. Maybe we've washed away some of the fear in private credit as evidenced by financials going higher. Maybe we've washed away some of the fears of SaaS-mageddon with tech going higher. And those are basically the 1 and 2 of the bears this year. So nice, good vibes going on
So things
here.
are coming back and they're looking good going forward. Do you need the Fed to, do the cut that people were waiting for? There was even talk at one point for a hike at the end of the year. I don't know. I don't really hear people saying that in the last couple of days. But your thoughts on, what the Fed needs to do in order to keep this rally going, if at all? Are people focusing too much on the Fed, maybe?
Yeah, and I was perplexed. I mean, we were saying it a lot at Wisdom Tree a few weeks ago. Why would you hike into a system when you do have private credit on the front page, that type of thing? Why would you hike? I mean, the street was looking at one point a few weeks ago for the ECB, the European Central Bank, to hike like 3 times this year. And we were back at Wisdom Tree on the research side, so what are you even talking about? So we've now repriced that. But if you think about 2026 action from the Fed, whether it's Jay Powell or Kevin Warsh, because there's that big question mark there, does really one hike or one cut move the needle much? But the reality is, and it seems to be forgotten, I wonder if it's because of our goldfish brains with everybody's got doom scrolling and clickbait. But hello, we got 175 basis points already over the last 6 quarters or so from Jay Powell. He cut back in the winter of 24 and then again in the winter of 25. Now's where you get the sweet spot of that starting to show up in the credit mechanism spring and summer of 26.
So tell me the strategy now at this point.
Sure, at Wisdom Tree.
Yeah, I mean, there are investment strategies to consider. I mean, there may be some winning and losing recipes in this kind of market, which can have some volatility, can have some headline risk, but fundamentals are looking good, and the economic prints are pretty good, right?
Well, we have an equity and a fixed income business, and in the model portfolios, we're overweight equities. I think we're also the only people on planet Earth that are overweight U.S. equities relative to developed and emerging. In the last year, that totally flipped. You couldn't have a conversation with anybody about developed markets. Now everybody's talking those, but we like U.S. equities here. We think, plain as day, if the street consensus for earnings on the S&P 500 in 2026 and 2027 comes anywhere near what they're expecting right now, which is 17 to 19% growth for calendar 26. I think we're at 13 or 14 for the first quarter earnings season. Let's say it's 16 or 17 or 18 this year, another 16 or 17 or 18 in 2027. It's tough to get a bear market when earnings are coming in like that, and I think it's as simple as that. Stay the course. 7,000 on the S&P. Let's go higher.
And some of your, ideas that we had been reading, and some of your tweets and things like that. I mean, you talked about some of the food stocks, consumer staples, money supply, and the Goldilocks concept. At this point, anything else you want to throw in there, whether it's the labor market or inflation, the manufacturing employment index. You noted that had shown some improvement. I mean, New York Empire State had. We watched here. So tell me, some final thoughts here.
Sure. I mean, I guess probably we'll take it from inflation because there is that little matter of the Strait of Hormuz right now. Okay, so some of you mentioned the regional Fed surveys and the prices paid mechanisms in those that have accelerated higher, but that's a known quantity. Everybody knew that was going to be the case for March.
Right.
And you do have, I mean, the CPI was boldly higher in month over month in the month of March. Everybody knows that. That is now also a known quantity. But, you know, it's not necessarily always the oil price that moves inflation. Money supply is absolutely critical.
Damn right it is.
Year-over-year growth in money supply, whether you're looking at the European Central Bank, whether you're looking at the Bank of Japan as to, maybe money supply is running away, I need to hike and ruin the situation or ruin the bull market. Everybody's money supply, the Chinese money supply, the U.S. money supply, is at a very middling year-over-year growth rate. In the U.S., it's 4.9. In the Eurozone, it's +4. We had, during the money splash of, I thought it was recent memory, but I guess everybody's forgotten it, we got some of those money supply figures well into the 20s for some of these major economic blocks on a year-to-year basis.
Right.
So 4s and 2s, that's all right.
So a sweet spot.
Sweet spot.
As you said. It's really great to see you again, Jeff. Thank you so much for being with us. And really, you know, we hadn't talked about money supply that much lately, so I'm glad you mentioned that as well. Thank you very much. And, you know, don't.
It looks like U.S. automakers are in the news.
But I think if the government really needed it and was willing to pay them, they could certainly do it. Much more difficult kind of business to get into because of the specifications and safety issues that come with it, though.
Yeah, David, that's what I was going to ask. I mean,
Bitcoin
how do you
coming
convince
down?
these companies to do this? Is it with subsidies, or is it Trump basically saying, I'm going to threaten more tariffs? What would convince the Fords, the GMs of the world to make this pivot?
Your mom?
I think, you know, often with the Trump administration, there's carrot and stick, right? So, you know, if you look at how Trump has managed the auto industry or worked with the auto industry in his first year, he has put tariffs in, which have cost him a lot of money. He's wiped out incentives to sell electric vehicles, which has been part of the reason they've had to write down their investments there. But he's also wiped out environmental regulations so they can sell as many very profitable gas guzzlers as they want. So I think in a situation like this, they'd probably make pretty good profit making this stuff. But then if they didn't cooperate, maybe there would be other tariffs or other things that they don't like. So they often try to play nice with the president and do what he wants, and then and hope that there's a payback with a different, you know, a change in policy somewhere else with what the administration would want to do.
Nonetheless, it's a manufacturing job, and Detroit is a manufacturing base, albeit not for weaponry that I know of. Do you think you could see, you know, more industrial buildup in the Midwest?
They could. I mean, there is some excess capacity, particularly in parts, and that's what GM did when they made the ventilators. They had a pretty much idle parts plant in Indiana where they just kind of like tooled it up and hired some people to make ventilators. So they do have space like that. And the question would be, if they had to make munitions or something like that, would they need some sort of specialized facility where they have to build new? And in that case, I think they would probably treat the government like any other, you know, like a supplier treats an automaker, where, hey, you're going to absorb some of the capital cost. We're going to have contracts dealing with how much of the output you're going to buy. There'll be pricing issues and that sort of thing. They would, you know, basically become a vendor to the U.S. government.
Hey, David, thank you very much for joining us. That's Bloomberg Detroit Bureau Chief David Welch. Coming up, Netflix earnings after the bell. We're focused on, I guess, fundamentals now that we aren't following the Warner Brothers takeover saga.
I want to run over to Fox for a second and see what's going on. I'm about done here for the day. Oh, they're still talking about what's his nuts. Let's check out Newsmax.
The supply line, and I love the aggressive attacks, but we have to have the same sense of urgency on the demand side. Our kids are not educated on the illicit drug supply.
You should have stopped right
there. On the table, and we're going to push it into the schools throughout America. We're going to get people mental illness